right. Hey, yo, 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 yo. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome to another THPS podcast. We are, if you can believe it, we are THPS podcast episode number 28. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. Thank you. We appreciate it. At this time, I would like to introduce the amazing, incomparable co host of mine and yours, Freddie.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the THPS podcast. Happy to be here. We have an incredible guest, and Dode has an announcement about our YouTube channel.
All right, perfect. We got volumes was fixed. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we did it, guys. We hit our 100 sub goal on YouTube. You can now find us at youtube.com/c/THPS podcast. Super easy. Thank you for the support. We really appreciate it, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore. So we genuinely appreciate the support here. So, hey, without too much further ado here, we're going to go ahead right now. We're super excited to welcome Invisbleman as our guest today. He was one of the founders of the TXO hosted site, the Glitch Vault, a site focusing on exposing the various glitches in each game with a comprehensive database of glitches complete with screenshots and detailed instructions. He is very known and highly respected for being a master at glitching and one of the first people to get into the modding scene. Played around with hex editing, released tools for modding very early in the series. You can often expect to see him show up online with a monster creative skater, heavily modified creative skater, some variety with all sorts of craziness. Part of the TXO clan and was always sought out by people to have him share secrets of how he did certain glitches or modified creative parts or skaters. Please, everybody, join us, and we're giving a warm welcome to Invisbleman.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. This is pretty cool, pretty amazing to be on the podcast. And what an intro as well. You made me sound amazing with that intro.
Hey, we gotta make sure and give props and credit where props and credit are due, and it certainly is the case here with you as a guest. We appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. So we're coming to you live, as you guys can all see, from heaven in college, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. So we thought that might be a nice little intro. This is one of the more famous glitches, and we're going to get into this a lot more in depth here as we get into our questions here. But the heaven glitch was famous. I think it was one of the most performed glitches in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. You're sitting kind of on this invisible shelf where there's collision actually intact. So anyway, welcome to everybody from heaven in college. And anyway, all right, so let's jump into something. I think there's an elephant in the room that we've got to talk about this week after months of speculation. The new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game that has been heavily rumored for months now was announced and dropped. So there was speculation, multiple podcasts. There were rumors of demos being passed around the Activision offices of this, and stuff teased by bands and pro skaters and non-900 Club interviews and all that kind of stuff. So there's all sorts of speculation and rumors around this, and then they just launched it absolutely beautiful with this announcement. I believe it was on Tuesday. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2. It's going to be released on PS4, Xbox One, and PC on September 4th of this year. Fully remastered Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 games. One epic collection, rebuilt from the ground up in incredible 4K resolution. So I thought we'd just start this out, and let's just real quick, because we've got a lot of ground to cover with I-Man here today. But real quick, what's your guys' impression? What's your thoughts on the announcement? What are your initial impressions after you've seen the trailers and so forth going on? Freddie, if you want to jump in, and then I-Man will hear from you.
Yeah, I think the game looks really great. I mean, the level of detail, in my opinion, some of the animations kind of remind me of THPS HD, but I'm holding out hope that they can put together a game that will please all fans. And I think that this is really the shot in the arm that the Tony Hawk community needs after the last two games that we had. And we'll see on September 4th, and let me just say that one thing that really gives me hope for this title is that Andy THPS is on the dev team.
Ah, yeah, that was announced. Andy announced that via his Discord. So if anybody hasn't heard that, I think Andy has a lot of weight on his shoulders right now since he announced that. I know he was excited to announce it, but in anyway, I agree. That's exciting. Invisbleman, your thoughts? I'm sure you caught the announcement. We didn't talk about this. This was kind of thrown in here last minute, but your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I saw the announcement trailer and I thought it looked amazing. It's pretty exciting to see all the levels in such like high detail, and knowing that Andy's working on it too, I just feel like it'll have a certain level of quality as far as like gameplay. I just remember how Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD was like kind of floaty in some of the gameplay, and so I feel like avoiding that is going to be a big win, and then also just kind of keeping it back to how things used to be, like pulling in those old levels, but still having a lot of modern features and things will really kickstart the series.
Yeah, I would agree with both of your assessments. I agree. The game obviously looks amazing. It's beautiful. I mean, it looks even light years ahead of HD and 5. It's just gorgeous. My two hopes are Vicarious Visions, who did some quality ports of previous titles, already have their finger on this series, as opposed to a brand new developer like Robomoto was. So it's just incredible to hear them. Obviously, to have Andy on board is great, but I believe there may be some other former Neversoft folks that work for Vicarious Visions. That's just me. I can't confirm that. I don't know who it is, but that's those are some murmurings that have been said. So, at any rate, all of that to say that the gameplay looks it I want to almost say that it looks like a Tony Hawk 3.5 kind of engine. It's not quite as grounded as 4 from what we're seeing so far, but it also isn't quite as floaty as say like 2, because 2 was pretty floaty to be fair. So at
How
any
excited
rate,
are you about? Excuse me.
go ahead.
How excited are you about how they've already gone into detail about all the cap stuff, like sharing parks and that?
Oh gosh, it's the stuff of dreams. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's sounding like it could be almost a create a level as opposed to just create a park. Being able to like completely manipulate objects into like different shapes and stuff was said. I don't know what that looks like or how that's done, but the biggest thing that I'll say is just and I'll make sure and share this with Andy too. Please let us raise and lower the ground. That's my big ask. If we can raise and lower the ground, then I'm a happy man. So at any rate, so cool. Well, I wanted to talk about that before we got into the interview here and the questions because I felt like that was important. Big news for this series. The buzz has just been insane. I mean, every single social channel that I'm involved with has just been blowing up this week. Discord chats, subreddits, YouTube, everywhere. People are super hyped, and there's mega buzz about this. So, a lot of pressure on the developers, is what I could say. But anyway, good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead now and get into some questions for Invisbleman here and talk about his career in Tony Hawk Land and in the world. And I know a lot of this stuff it's been years. To be fair, so if you don't remember everything, that's fine. But we'll start out with some general questions and quick hits. So, what was the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater gameplay, and what was your experience with it?
Yeah. So the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. And so I had it on the PlayStation 1, and it was so I used to have like a chipped PlayStation, and I always remember having like this gold disc of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 that was something that I borrowed from a friend and played, and I was just like hooked on it instantly, and I just couldn't stop playing it, and it was yeah, so it was always Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, and I really got into that game so much and played it a lot, and then when 2 came out, I really dug into that too. So it was definitely PlayStation 1 type era was kind of when I first started playing.
Nice.
Um,
The
yeah,
gold disc, huh? I don't know if I've heard of that.
no, it was just like a CDR, right? So
Oh,
it
okay.
just it just in my mind it just stood out as like the the one gold disc that I had. I was just like Tony Hawk, so I just always remember putting in the same gold disc
Yeah,
over and
sure.
over. You know,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love it.
yeah.
So it was the full game. It wasn't the demo. It wasn't like the Pizza Hut demo or one of those.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. No, and I don't remember like particularly running out to like buy it or wanting that game. It was just because it was there that I had it, and then when I once I played it, I was hooked and then ended up buying the games in the series from then on anyway. But yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Nice.
What has been your favorite Tony Hawk game and why?
Uh, I think my favorite has always been kind of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. I think just from the memories, like playing that game, I just remember playing so much, um, just glitching and playing and catching up with so many people. I think I just ended up spending the most hours on that. And it just, yeah, I think just from memory, it was just one of those times where I feel like I got to know the most people playing the game, um, and doing most of the glitches that kind of kickstarted me into glitching was on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
You'll get no argument from Freddie or I.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you talking about, Thug Pro choosing Thug as the engine and things, and I mean, it's great, all the features and everything, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know, I was such a big fan of 4 that I don't know, yeah, it's hard to choose between those two as far as like choosing an engine to like expand on like they have.
Sure. What's your favorite all-time regular Tony Hawk's Pro Skater level from all games combined?
That's such a tough question.
It is.
Uh, yeah, I don't.
You could say one, maybe a favorite per game, if that helps.
Um, I think I definitely remember playing like Rio on Tennis Pro Skater 3 a lot, and I remember playing like San Francisco a lot and Alcatraz a lot. I'd say like those three were definitely up there for me as like some of the levels that I'd definitely play a lot,
Yeah,
and be favorites. Yeah. But it's just so it just varies so much though, depending on what you're doing too. Like with your glitching or playing like King of the Hill or something, there was always just like something for each level to have.
sure.
What was your favorite creative park?
Favorite creator park. I was never like huge into creator park, so but I remember playing a lot of Park of Doom, um, playing that a bunch with like TXO and other people, and then I remember playing a creator park that was supposed to be based on like the TV game show called Takeshi's Castle. It was like a game show in Japan. I don't know if you remember it. I think it was called like Most
Uh,
Extreme
Most
Elimination
Extremes.
or something.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's it.
goodness, I haven't heard that in so long. I totally forgot about that until you just
Do you
said it.
remember it? Do you
Sure.
remember that?
Yeah, now I
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Because I remember playing that a lot, and it was just like you had to get from one place to another, and it was just like insanely hard. Like, like you had to like jump around and go to different spots without falling in lava and things. And yeah, I don't know. I just remember killing like a bunch of time playing that too. Um,
Did you happen to play any of Onion's glitched caps?
I yeah, I probably did. I remember playing some of them. Yeah, I can't remember that well. There's something about creator parks that I like playing them. I just yeah, I don't know. I tended to lean towards playing the actual levels in the game instead. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Park of Doom, shout out Andy THPS. Park of Doom 5-2. Spent man so many hours playing Pod Slap. Love it. What was your first time playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Online?
That was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. So I remember I was on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
So I remember I remember reading in a magazine, I think it was, that you could play online. I think it was specifically for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 actually as well, the guide, and it was like you could play online if you bought this unofficial network adapter. And I know there's quite a few people that played Tony Hawk's came from that, and you could buy it and plug it in. It was like USB, and it was like grey with like a red top on it. I can't remember what it was called, and I remember running out buying that and then plugging it in and playing like I think I was playing like Airport on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and then just joining a server and seeing someone else playing, like skating around, like blew my mind at the time. I was just like, I couldn't believe it, because I'd spent so long like just playing the game, offline on the previous games, and kind of finding that way to play online. It was pretty amazing.
Man, you're early then. You weren't a Christmas noob. We get all kinds of answers on the questions. So you were one of the Tony Hawk 3 USB modem people. That's awesome. So you got to play with some people. It was such a tight knit kind of niche group back then too. Because so few had
Yeah.
it. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I also yeah, I just remember like doing that and just playing it so much, and yeah, it's just crazy the amount of people that were playing it even then. Like, because I didn't think there'd be many people playing it because it's like an unofficial thing,
Right.
but there was just like a ton of people. And then also, I hadn't even heard the word Christmas noob. I'd forgotten about that until this week. Like, I watched one of the other podcasts. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that they used to call people Christmas noobs.
I'm one of them. I'm a Christmas noob myself. So.
Who has been your favorite player?
To play with or to like watch, or just what is there
Maybe
either?
somebody that you had a good time playing with, or that maybe you learned some things from.
Yeah, I mean, I played with a lot of people. I mean, I really used to play a lot with GC, which is Glitch Cult, and we did a lot of glitching together. I like playing with TXO, and there was just I used to spend a lot of time jumping to all kinds of servers just to spend time with different people. But I remember playing with like Soupcan and Ken Man and Glitch Cult and the Goat or whatever, and all kinds of people. I remember playing a lot with especially GC, and I played a lot with GC Raiden and Zyno, and yeah. Talking of Raiden as well, he's someone I used to play and glitch with a lot, and he's also got a game that he's released recently, or he's been working on recently, called Pixel Skater. It's kind of like a 2D skateboarding game inspired by the Tony Hawk series. So if you ever get a chance to check that out, it's well worth the time too.
Yeah, Raiden's awesome. I played with him a lot, and I've stayed in touch with him over the course of time as well. And I've seen some of the stuff on Pixel Skater. That's pretty cool that he's able to put something like that together and get something going.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite online game mode?
It's I think I always like graffiti, and I was partial to King of the Hill, depending on just depending on the level and who I'm playing with. But King of the Hill was always really impressive to me when you played with some people that just could just kind of turn it around on you so quick. You'd be chasing them, and they'd switch around and like do a wall jump and just be like somewhere completely different and across the map before you even knew it. I definitely appreciated like King of the Hill for that kind of thing. But yeah, King of the Hill and graffiti would definitely up there for me.
You are
Nice.
truly a man after my own heart, as well as Freddie. Freddie is very modest and he won't say much, but Freddie is one of the best King of the Hill players I've ever played with, and I've played with some top people, Devolution and Crad, and just there's some really formidable players, but Freddie is quite amazing. So he's really quite good.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check it out when you're playing, because there's some crazy moves that people do. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff now with like Pro too.
What
uh,
is
Sorry, go ahead, Freddie.
uh the next question was what was your favorite Tony Hawk video or series of videos?
Uh, I mean, I always enjoyed watching like videos of Andy or videos of Magic Summer, just like no
Nice.
manuals.
Hmm.
I don't know. I enjoyed I think they were called the like GT or Get There series.
Yeah.
Is that?
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember those coming out, and that just being like a totally different way of kind of playing the game and recording videos of like I think it was more like style, right? Kind of ways of getting from one place to another, and you could only do it without manual or something like that. And people would come up with some really impressive stuff. That was always a lot of fun for me to watch, even though I was terrible at that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Get There's that ended up going. I think it ended up like with 300 and some Get There's total that were on the websites. But it was spread across a couple. Started on TXO, then TH Live, and but then they eventually ended up continuing it, and they started doing Get There's via. There's a Discord channel called NFA or No Fun Allowed. It's kind of it has to do with the improv community, and they continued to do Get There's years later, even through Thug Pro years on that, and but yeah, definitely good stuff. They, as you said, you could each one would be specific. You could do one trick, or you had to go through a window on a level, and it was like start at point A, end at point B, and here's kind of the mechanics you can or can't use, and you have to kind of do these couple of things, wall plants off of this, whatever. So, what is out of all of them, and you've done a ton? What's your favorite glitch?
Uh, favorite glitch. I don't know. Favorite glitch. That's really a tough one too. These are tough. I think they always come back to kind of ones where people would be really like impressed the most by like there's a lot of glitches that are just kind of like you can get in this quarter pipe, you can kind of jump through this whatever pipe and things, and but the ones where you can get to a place that someone hadn't seen before, like we did at the beginning of this, like being above the college level, like, and people seeing them and being like, how do you do that? Those were always the most impressive to me. Like I remember joining servers early on and just seeing, especially on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, I used to see a guy called Turd Gazer, his name was in GC, and he would just be sitting in some random place in the level, and it would just be like, how the hell did you get there? And it would just be like at the very top of like Foundry or something, or just like in suburbia, like just somewhere way off in like the burnt house, and you'd just be like, how did you do that? And it was just like some repetitive thing that would take hours to do, but once he'd done it, he would be just sitting there in some server. So I think those kinds of glitches are definitely up there. But to choose, I don't know, to choose like a favorite. I guess I mean I was always partial to like being in Johnson Hall because that was something that I could do that people couldn't do so easily. But other than that, I don't know, just ones that were impressive. I think were definitely favorites.
Can
So
you still do it here in Thug Pro? I mean, we're watching you
I
right now. You're close.
I know I was trying it earlier actually. And I was just like, man, this feels different. So
It's a
I don't
little
know.
different, yeah.
But yeah, I yeah, I might be able to. I don't know. I'll keep trying while we talk.
I love it.
So we're going to move on to some a little bit more in-depth specific questions. The first one is, when did you become interested in glitching?
I think like mostly on Tony Pro Skater 3, like I was mentioning, you kind of join some servers and see I see a few people doing some kind of crazy things, and that kind of spiked my interest. And then I do remember as well, like Tony Pro Skater 3 online website, there was some glitches on there, um, just a few. And then I also remember as well one time like Andy being on a server and doing some glitches and things, a long time ago. And I think just all of those things kind of led towards me being interested in it. I used to play a lot and kind of get excited to join different servers just to have the option to be on different servers. So I remember even having like a piece of paper where I just like write down passwords for different servers, until it got to the point where I could join like any server because I was friends with all the people. And
Nice.
so that became a thing that I was doing on Tone Express Skater 3, and I think a lot of that was different types of gameplay. Sometimes you're playing the game, and sometimes you're glitching, and you're just kind of following along. And I kind of just ended up discovering that was something I was really interested in. Just being able to kind of get places or do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do, and then sharing that with people too. It was always kind of fun.
That's awesome. Wow, I didn't realize there was, I didn't realize that the glitching scene was big even back on 3, but that's just because I didn't have it, I wasn't online, didn't have exposure. It makes sense, though, for sure. And then, of course, T3O. So that's perfect segue into, was the Glitch Vault hosted site, was that something that was a thing prior to it becoming hosted on TXO, or when you guys put that together and it became an official TXO hosted site, was that kind of the first incarnation of Glitch Vault?
Um, I think, I mean, I remember Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 Online having a specific glitch section, and I remember there being, I think it was like Chosen One, Toby, and maybe Andy. I don't know if Andy was had glitches on there, but I remember that. And then from there, I remember it kind of at some point becoming Glitch Vault as like a hosted TXO site. And maybe somewhere in between, there was more happening, and like this era, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 time, I think. Um, but yeah, I think it was mostly Pink, Onion Scooter,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of he kind of took over the Glitch Vault when that became a hosted site, and I kind of worked with him at the time to kind of develop that and work with him and add screenshots and that kind of thing.
Did he go by the name Pink? Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, I think unless I'm unless I'm remembering wrong, but I think originally he was SG Mr. Pink, and then
Really?
he became, yeah, and then it was Onion, and then Scooter. Unless I've got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was right. Unless I'm thinking of someone else and just
Oh
getting
man,
the
that's
two mixed
crazy.
up
I
now.
never knew that. I knew Onion and Scooter, but I didn't know that he went by Mr. Pink. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, when did you get invited into TXO and by whom?
Um, I got invited at the tail end of TXA, I think. I feel like I remember thinking that I think I was going to be in TXA, and then that didn't happen. It just kind of that got cancelled or whatever. I think I can't quite remember. And I don't remember who told me. I was actually thinking it was you, Dode, but I don't remember. I don't know if you remember who.
Wow. uh, I don't ever remember inviting anybody to TXO, but I suppose it's possible. Um,
I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking maybe you told me, even if it wasn't like the invite. I really don't remember.
oh
Oh,
my
I guess it
gosh,
would
that's
make
funny.
it would probably make more sense that Onion or Scooter or whatever would have done it, because I think he was in it before me anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was probably him.
Because I remember there were a couple of people when TXA was the thing. There was a couple of people that we had considered, and we talked about it in the mod section of the TXO forums or something. That was kind of our primary place of communication. And man, I thought you were already in. I didn't realize it was that late in the whatever in the history of online community lore. That's tripping me out. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, I was never really playing the game and very well, or anything like that. So I was always glitching, So and I was playing with TXO a lot, but I didn't really hang out in IRC and things like that. So I don't think I was like super close with anyone until kind of Onion was doing glitching with me, and then it just kind of became part of that, I think. And especially as like you guys too, the creator skater type side of things kind of
sure.
expanded too. Then it was kind of like another outlet. It wasn't just like you had to be the best at the game kind of thing, which is kind of how I saw TXO kind of before it expanded a tiny bit.
Yeah, and that's what happened was, later on. I mean, at the start of TXO, it was all the best players, like the elite of the elite for sure. And then over time, it became like, okay, well, there's so many people that are contributing to the gameplay beyond just scores, and kind of when scoring diminished its value and so forth, with double tap glitch and all that kind of stuff. That's when it became more of a situation where it's like, okay, is this person a significant contributor to the community, to they whatever. I mean, so to be recognized for being a fantastic glitcher and for the contributions to glitch vault and so forth, I have no doubt that that would be, maybe if your gameplay wasn't necessarily incredible. Like mine certainly isn't. But I helped out with the site and creative park stuff and whatever else. So that could be the case for you too.
Yeah.
So you kind of already talked about it, but it sounds like you spent time hanging out with a lot of people from the community. It wasn't just TXO specific. Name some of the people from TXO that you remember that you hung out with a fair bit.
I remember like Andy and Draco and Fake Shady and Caius
Nobody
John
can ever
or
say
whatever.
John's name. I
Yeah,
can't say
I
it
don't
either.
know.
Kaiwas John.
Yeah,
Yeah,
DT.
yeah,
Oh man, I don't know. Just a bunch of people. Um, yeah, I remember playing a lot, but there was also like the time zone thing for me too, because I was in the UK, so
sure.
there wasn't always like an overlap of time. So I think I just tried to make the most of the times when I was around.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, Let me go back and get this question real quick. It was besides corner glitching, what would you consider to be the most well-known or most completed glitch?
Uh, I'd probably say like kind of custom restart kind of glitches. I feel like there's a lot of outlets with that. Kind of going out of bounds in a level, you could set a custom restart and be out of bounds, and then there was ones that kind of developed from there where you could like set a custom restart and then like grind on a rail and then kind of bail to one side and then go to the custom restart, and then that would kind of make you go through a certain building or a certain element and things like that. And then that was also expanded on, that you could do kind of custom restart kind of jumping where you could go up in the air. That I remember the best glitches of all time. Clan, did a lot where you could kind of jump, set a custom restart, go to the custom restart, jump, set a new custom restart. So you could basically just keep jumping up in the air, and you could reach some really high places. And that was kind of some interesting things. So I definitely think custom restarts had a huge part in maybe making some of the well-known glitches. But yeah, I think that's a big piece of it.
That's amazing. I Proverbs, pay attention. Maybe some of the stuff you could benefit from, you can put it in some of your stuff nowadays. Freddie, go ahead and
And
get that other question. I did skip
yeah,
ahead. That was my bad. So the next one's for you for sure.
here we go. Did you ever participate in any tournaments like Tourney for the Homies or Improvity Stricken?
Yes, I did. I did 20 for the homies, and I stayed up late to play, and I just like sucked at the game.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, because I think for me, I had to like stay up to like, I don't know, 3 a.m. or something, or something terrible.
Sure.
And yeah, and I just stayed up, and I was just like, just like did terrible and like bailed immediately after a long combo or something. And yeah, I didn't do any of the others. And it's funny, I was listening to the podcast where you were interviewed, Dode, and I was just thinking you talked about that too. And one of the prize for the first tournament was like $1,000, right?
Yeah.
And I forgot that it was like a Best Buy voucher or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a Best Buy coupon. So I have no idea what I would have done if I'd won, because there's no Best Buy in the UK. So I don't I don't know what I would have done, but I guess I kind of knew in the back of my mind I've got no chance in hell of like getting anywhere here. Um, and then another funny thing that happened with that is that I ended up moving to California, basically, like almost 7 or 8 years ago now. And what's funny is that I ended up working with a guy at a company, and we got talking about Tony Hawk's, and I found out that he played in 20 for the homies too, as
What?
well,
Oh,
with me.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah. I
What
mean,
was
it
his
might not have
name?
been with me. I don't know his in-game name, but
Oh man.
his real name's like Trevor. And yeah, we ended up talking about it, and we were just like, what? And then I told him I was in TXO, and he was just like, no way. And it was just funny to have like this interaction like 15 years later that I probably would have loved back then. He was just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, you're in TXO. And we're like, 30-ish-year-old men, like just like being surprised that we both used to play the game and things.
That's a great story, man. I don't think I've ever just randomly ran into somebody in real life that without intentionally having talked to them online or whatever. I mean, I've met people from the series over time now in real life, but not just happened upon it in casual conversation. That is amazing. Let's see. I totally lost my place. Oh, here we go. So, where does your username come from? Is there a fun and interesting story behind it?
No, not really. I mean, it was something dumb, I think, at the time. I think I was just being ignored the day I decided to come up with the name or something. And I remember looking around and there was a player called Invisible Skate Pickle or something too, and I was
Oh
like, oh
yeah,
man, my
skate pickle.
yeah, I remember being like, my name's so similar. Should I change it now? And I was just like, forget it. I'll just carry on. So I just kind of, I don't know, just picked it randomly and stuck with it. And in fact, I had a hard time changing the name because it was so long that I couldn't really add a clan tag to it. So I would kind of like join clans, but not really join. Like I'd join, but not commit in changing my name. So no one really knew I was in a clan, which obviously doesn't work very well. And then, yeah, except for TXO, when I finally got into that, then I decided to do like iman.txo because otherwise there's no point, you know.
Sure.
Seems like you became very well known for glitching and then eventually modding. Did you ever establish a reputation for playstyle?
No, not really. I mean, I used to play quite a bit, but I didn't particularly, yeah, establish any kind of play style really. It was just, just kind of switching between, um, kind of glitching or playing the game. And, I was never really that good at it anyway. Which is pretty pathetic, really, when you think you spend so much time playing a game that you're not actually that good at, But it's always nice to fall back on, like, hey guys, I can't play that good because I'm doing glitches over here. even though, even though in reality, I'm actually playing games in between that and still sucking. But yeah,
That's my secret too. I can't play the game worth a hill of beans even after 20 years, but I can make a creative park here and there.
right.
That's funny. Did you ever play for points or get involved with whoring?
I used to. I mean, I used to break up the glitching with playing and things, and I tried whoring for a little while in the game, but I was just like, okay, I wasn't even that. I wasn't that great, and in the same way, people get bored like jumping at a wall trying to do a glitch. I would get pretty bored just doing the same line up and down as well for a while. So yeah, I would do it, but I was never really that good at it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's been really interesting to hear different people talk about whoring throughout throughout all of the podcast stuff here, and I think one of the more fascinating things to me was to learn that so many people when the double tap glitch was found in Tony Hawk's Underground One, like ruined the game for a lot of people. But then I heard people talking about how they actually established double tap clans where they're like, okay, we're just gonna embrace this and just use it, and so that kind of took the whole whoring scene to a whole nother level. And there's still whoring clans that exist today, if you can believe it. There's one named OAS, and I mean they're seriously getting uh, billions of points, and it's just amazing stuff.
Yeah, and that became like a mark of like, oh, you shouldn't use that because that's, not that's kind of like not the right way to go as well. Like the other side of it, people were embracing it, and then other people were kind of avoiding it, and it just brought about different kinds of gameplay, I guess, which at the end of the day was a good thing anyway.
Sure.
So yourself and Onion, aka Scooter, were the first admins of the Glitch Vault, along with Juby helping with captures. Did you all know each other prior to starting the site?
Yeah, I mean, we used to play together, or we used to play in different games together, and I used to play with Onion quite a bit and Juby too, but I can't really remember too much, but we probably just glitched and played a lot, like most of the other games, and yeah, it's just the usual kind of thing. And I think I don't remember Juby doing too much, but Onion. and I glitched quite a lot, I think, together, along with other people as well. But yeah, it was a lot of fun back then.
So you guys just mostly the online experience was just you and Onion and whoever else just playing together, free skating, looking for glitches. I mean, you guys. It seems like I didn't end up in glitch lobbies too often because it was hours, like you said earlier, to do some glitches, and I'm like, I just want to play a game, and you guys are
Yeah,
like, no, wait, I gotta see, I'm just about there, and this 50
I know.
step glitch or whatever, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is the most boring thing ever. If you're not
Yeah,
into it, but for you guys, I mean, that was probably pretty, that's what. So did you guys? Was that pretty much pretty well the description of how it was done?
yeah. I mean, it was pretty boring sometimes too, doing that stuff because some of them were just like, yeah, really boring, or just you're just throwing yourself at a wall doing something dumb for hours. But like in between that, like it's the conversations and
Yeah.
things, that were in between that. If that wasn't there, then yeah, you probably wouldn't really be doing it. But we'd just talk about different things, and then we might play the game, or we might just come up with an idea that someone hadn't had, and that kind of thing. Um, yeah, it was kind of just crazy, really, just trying different things and just seeing what would happen. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so you didn't play many glitch servers, though, you're saying?
I really didn't. I mean, I tried. I tried to get into glitching, and I learned how to corner glitch, and I did have in once upon a time. But I don't know. I just never really found it that interesting. I guess I was really excited though by the glitching that you could do in the creative parks. Merging and stacking, which now, of course, is the Thug Pro folks have just embraced that and they said, hey, you can do this, let's just make it a part of it so you can actually just do it in the editor now, which is cool. But back then it was just it was just a thing where I just found it. I guess I was just bored with it. I just never really embraced it. Went, oh, I want to. I think I could be a formidable glitcher. I don't know. It just wasn't my bag, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. There was a lot of people like that, and I think even for lot of people that were glitching, there was still like a lot of times where it was just kind of like, this is boring now. Let's do something else for a bit, and then come back to it, or try playing something, and then yeah, switching over. Otherwise, it was just too much, too much.
Okay. So I have to bring this up because I remember Onion he was pretty outspoken, if memory serves correctly. He was not afraid to tell you what he thought and to call a spade and to call a noob, and whatever it was. He just had kind of that personality. Did you ever have any issues with him? I mean, did you guys always seem to get along all right, or were there ever any kind of little I don't want to say drama, but anything between you guys that caused some issues?
No, I never had any drama with him. In fact, like I don't really remember that much drama coming from him, but I want to say like probably on the forums he said things, and in IRC and in other chats, but there was a lot of players that were just kind of like, you know, just say it like it is and be insulting and things and whatever. So like he may have been, and I may have just seen it as like some other players that I played with. I remember some people being completely complete assholes basically, and
Oh
just
yeah.
still playing with them, and they still like want to do the same thing and have fun and stuff, but they're just calling you a noob and whatever whatever all the time. So but yeah, I never had any problems with that with him, and I think we both kind of were along the same wavelength as far as like doing glitches and things. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, we talk about this quite a bit in Discord servers and on in game in 2020 now. I mean, so many people that played this series online, they were so young. I mean, 11, 12, 13 years old back, in Tony Hawk 4 and Underground days. And so, I think maybe some of the social graces weren't really quite established yet. It was a lot of teenage angst, and you're also online, so you're hiding behind a keyboard. So you run your mouth and you'll say stupid stuff a lot. So I think there were some people that just didn't want to put up with that, and I do think Onion was one that was just like, I'm not dealing with your BS.
Yeah, totally, totally. There was a lot of people like that, and I think there was a lot on the forums, and I think
Oh yeah.
people joining servers and stuff too, because especially after glitching was you recognize for glitching, people would join and just be like, "How do you do that? Let's do that. Can I be in this picture? Can I show you a glitch?" And it's like, all these things that you've done a million times or whatever. And
Yeah,
yeah, there's just a mix of people, right?
sure.
So for the amount of glitches that you guys discovered, it must have taken quite a bit of trial and error. What was it like to specifically seek out new glitches, and did you mix that up with normal online gameplay sessions?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a bit, but yeah, we definitely mixed it up. Trying to play some games in between, or just kind of doing different things. But yeah, we'd seek out new glitches. We might just try. Like, there was always certain buildings in a level that maybe looked like appealing, or like, oh man, I really wish I could get into, this whatever building and stuff. And you just kind of try and keep trying on that same one, and trying to find a way in, and just find some new thing that someone hadn't done. But yeah, in between that, there was, you might play a few games in between to break it up.
Sure.
I mean, what about for creating parks? Like, when you were doing that, though, did you take breaks and play games, or did you just like spend like a long session just like building out a park, or whatever?
Well, because all the park building was done offline, and so what we'd
Yeah,
do is we'd build something and then we'd take it online and like have people test it with us and be like, oh, this is fun, or this doesn't connect, or you're missing a gap, or all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of trial and error, and then you go back offline and you'd have to get a group together again and whatever. But then when we were reviewing parks, yeah, it was a mix. I mean, I don't know. I was the opposite. I got to where I had played the regular levels so many times, I just couldn't even. It was They weren't interesting to me anymore, and that's why I just always played creative parks, because I was like, okay, this is new content, and some of it was bad, a lot of it was bad, some was really bad, but then there was quite a bit that was really good. So that was kind of how we did it too. So yeah, we definitely broke it up, and then a lot of times too, I just joined to play with people. It wasn't necessarily what they were doing or what they were playing. It's just like, hey, I know this person. I know them to be super cool. I'm just going to jump on and whatever. We'll play. I don't care. I don't care if it's capture the flag or slap or whatever it is. I'll just, because I want to hang out and I want to chat with my buddy, kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. I think that's the kind of experience that a lot of people had.
Yeah. Did you have people show you glitches online or submit glitches to you, or was it primarily you with you all finding them? You touched on this a
Both,
bit
I
too.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of both. Like, people would come in and say, they would find you in the server and say, "Hey, I found this glitch. Can I show you?" And a lot of the time it was like, "Can I be in the picture?" kind of thing, or whatever, as well. Really, it's like, I found this. It's like some ownership over this thing you found.
Sure.
Um, uh, yeah, and then do people submit them online? Show me. I don't really remember people doing it online, or handing me like the pre-made photos or anything, captures or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think people just kind of joined the server and did that, or we just found them, or one of the people that we play with regularly found it and shared it with us pretty quick. That kind of thing.
Sure.
What was the hardest glitch you remember finding?
Was the hardest glitch? Uh, yeah, that's hardest glitch. Uh, I don't know about one that I found, but I always remember there was a weird spot in suburbia where you could kind of like I think I mentioned it earlier, where you could kind of like stand on this part of the burnt building. I always remember that being like really tricky to do, and then I don't know. It's just weird. Certain glitches sometimes it would just be your day, or it's not your day to kind of hit them. You'd be doing the same thing over and over, and sometimes some of them are a lot harder than others. But yeah, I don't know. There's so many that I spent hours doing. It's hard to say exactly. I wish I could see them all, and go through them and just be like, oh yeah, now I remember. But I don't have too much content from back then.
Uh, so this is This is a big point of debate amongst lots in the community, and the question is this. It's been debated on who the first person to discover the corner glitch was. Do you know who was the first?
No, no idea. No idea. I'm sure everyone will say it was them. Like if you ask different clans, like I'm pretty sure Glitch Cult would say it was them. I'm pretty sure best glitches of all time would say it's them. I'm sure someone somewhere will say it was them. You know, if you asked, I don't know. I think a lot of people were probably doing the same thing.
Sure.
And I'm not even sure I don't really do it the same way. Like a lot of people will like turn like spin as they're doing the corner glitch, whereas I don't always do that. So I don't know. People do it differently too, and it still kind of works. So, but yeah, I really don't know who came up with that.
Did somebody show you how to do it, or did you kind of happen upon it on your own? I guess that'd be another question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It may be that I just copied other people at the time,
Mm-hmm.
or like they showed me maybe the first glitch or something, and it was done that way, and then I tried it in other places as I was trying to find new things. So it may have happened like that. Yeah, I really can't quite remember that like how that happened really.
Sure.
Now, there were some glitches in Tony Hawk 4 that had so many elaborate steps or are so out there, you just wonder how in the world were they discovered? Like College Heaven, Monkey Hell, and Zoo, and the Tony Hawk 4 level swap. How are these glitches even found?
The College Heaven one, I want to say that that was found in like the demo disc because I remember people talking about that as being something that they found in the demo disc trying it out. So I know like even that was found like kind of early. I you know Monkey Hell and Zoo. I don't remember being around when that happened. I just remember finding out about it after the fact. But yeah, I don't know how that one was found. I'm not sure if it was just like you could see under the level that that would be the right place to kind of drop into, um, or if it was more of just an accident. Because a lot of them were like accidents. You'd just be playing the game and suddenly you'd like go through some some piece of scenery that you weren't expecting to and be like, oh, I found something, you know. Um, so I think it's kind of some of them are kind of a mix where you're like banging your head against the wall trying to do some crazy thing and you make it happen, and then other times it's kind of accidental. Um, yeah, I'm just trying to think the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 level swap. Like, what was that one? Like, I can't remember what that one is. Like, was it called something else, or what? Do you
Um,
guys remember what that one is?
it would be where you would, as the host, you would load your list of caps and then cancel out and then choose another level and then start a game there. And everybody that was in your host with you would be in the new level, and everybody that joined afterwards would be in the old level.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I remember doing a lot of weird stuff with that. Like, I remember. So I started to do something else where I'd host host the server, and then I would I would switch the level, and I would disconnect the Ethernet cable, and then plug it back in at a certain time, and then you'd get the extra. Then you'd get like the game would sort of, I don't know, try and re kind of sync everything up, and sometimes you get some of the level objects appearing in the game like for competitions. Like you can just turn them on in Thug Pro now, but at the time it would like somehow trigger them to be on in an online game. So I remember doing a lot of stuff with that to randomly find some stuff, which was kind of like that. And a lot of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 like level swap, that some of that was deceiving because one person's in one level but the rest of you are in another level, and it just was more for like so you could take a screenshot of someone looking like they're in a place that you could never glitch into kind of thing, and just be like, oh my god, he made it into this building, how's he doing that, even though it's got like a bouncy invisible wall underneath him, how yeah.
That's like there's a modern thing where people do screenshots right now where they'll I think it's done, Freddie. You can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's done to where everybody looks like they're sitting down, and it's done to where you go into free cam or something. I think when you bail in Thug Pro, and it kind of gives it's like it gives the appearance that people are actually sitting down, so you can do a screen grab. So it's similar. It's something like that.
Nice.
So yeah, people are still doing crazy, interesting things like that. But yeah, interesting. You probably because we gave you these questions ahead of time, you'd be aware of it now. But are you surprised to learn that Glitchful exists today?
I mean, now you said that, I'm not, but I don't know. I am surprised. Where is it hosted? Is it on the T? Is it on the THPSX site, or is it where is it?
So it's basically using that same kind of set of servers. So Karad is a huge glitcher, and he's one of the admins at THPSX. And so he actually talked with me, and we talked to Benson. And Karad had actually done some work to stand some stuff back up on his own, but he's missing some of the images. So Benson fired Carl up, the old TXO server, got us a dump of the images. You probably haven't heard that in a while, the Carl name. But anyway, so yeah, I've got it up on screen right now. So it's not fully complete. There are still some images that are missing, so forth and so on. But yeah, big shout out to Crab. This still exists, and you can still go on, and there's a huge the database is there, and I don't know. It seems like the last news post there was a team member of Glitchfolt towards the end named Biscuit, and he went by Biz, and that might be confusing for some people because there's also a B-Goat member now, and his name is Biz, and he's still active in the community. Two different people. Biscuit was part of Glitchfolt, but anyway, so his last thing is. July 29th of 2005, and it was ahead of Thaw coming out. So I don't know if that was the last news post, and this is the final incarnation of it. But if you go to glitchfolt.com, you can check out Glitchfolt. It's available. It's up. It's running. You don't have to use you don't have to use archive.org to look at a whole bunch of broken stuff. So it's pretty cool that Crad did it. So shout out to Crad for that. But yeah, your thoughts on
Nice.
that?
I mean, it's pretty amazing. Like, especially as all the work we did at the time. Like, it was it was a lot of work doing that stuff. So it's pretty amazing that it's still around. I remember seeing the discussions of kind of like, hey, Benson saying I still have this, or like I'm shutting it down, and there's a part of me that's like, oh yeah, I want to take it over and make sure it still lives on, but I didn't. But I'm glad that someone else has done that kind of thing because it's cool to be around. And I actually found a VHS tape the other day of where I recorded myself doing a bunch of glitches too, and I'm like, oh damn, I should do something with that too, even though it's like terrible quality.
Oh, for sure. Some of that old stuff is awesome. We're finding like Nacho, who is guest that we just had on. He has gigs of videos that he's got on a hard drive laying around somewhere. It's amazing that people still hung on to a lot of this stuff, and I love it. I eat that stuff up. So
Yeah, it's just the quality of the stuff that I did was terrible. I had a terrible capture card too at the time. It was like this really crappy USB thing. So my stuff was like even worse than the other stuff at the time, I think. So
yeah, we refer to it as potato quality. It's like the stuff that was recorded at like 320 by 280, resolution on this completely garbage capture card, which is what I had too. It just looks
yeah,
so bad. We'll be viewing a couple of those videos here shortly, in fact.
yeah,
But
it probably just looks like Minecraft now, just like giant blocks or something.
yeah, exactly. But it gives you the idea, and I think that's it. It preserves the history of it, and at least gives you the idea of what is going on. So
So back in the day, the Glitchfall crew consisted of Onion, yourself, Benson, Psycho, RJ Magic, Biscuit, THPS Ben, Snakebite, and Toby. Did you know all of these guys and hang out with them regularly?
Yeah, so I think we all kind of played together in servers over time, and I definitely remember RJ Magic and Biscuit and yeah, THPS Ben. Um, I may have even kind of recruited them. I can't really remember, but we definitely played a lot, and I think because of the time zone thing again too, having other players that were on the American time zone was a lot easier for that stuff too, and Yeah, I played with them quite a lot. I think a lot of those players came from just again like I'd be glitching in the server and people would be like, "Oh, I like glitching," or "I've seen the website," and they would join in too, and then you'd find out they're cool people and they're doing the same thing and they want to help too, and they just become part of the team helping too. So
Do you still stay in touch with any of them today?
I don't know. I remember playing mostly with RJ Magic and Biscuit, I think, around like Thug. I don't. And did I play at Thug too? I think it was yeah somewhere around there. But then no, I just kind of dropped off, and I didn't speak to hardly any of them after a while. Even Onion too. Like I really lost touch with Onion. So I don't know if anyone's heard from these guys, but
I
I haven't.
haven't. I actually, I was Onion is somebody I'd love to get a hold of and try to consider for a future guest on the podcast, but I have not. I mean, we kind of had that. It seems like there was this kind of dull black period after American Wasteland. Most people didn't continue on through. Well, I shouldn't say most. A lot of people didn't continue on through Project 8 and Proving Ground, and then of course not through Ride or Shred. But then there was kind of this little reburst of folks through Facebook, primarily around HD times, and a lot of people kind of showed up. I think that's when you and I reconnected, iMan, because we had that
Yeah,
secret TXO group. But there's still a lot of people that you know are kind of they're living their life. They're not thinking about Tony Hawk. Hopefully some people with the new games coming out, we might see them resurge. Another person we're really trying to find is Draco. Nobody seems to know how to really get a hold of Draco. So anyway, we were always kind of curious if people stay in touch.
yeah. You never know. Like with Thug Pro and the new game and things. Like I think that might pique some people's interest just to like see what's out there.
For
Because
sure.
you kind of see stuff in in the background sometimes too. Like I'd seen Thug Pro around for a long time, but I just hadn't really dipped into it. So I think some people might come back over time as well.
You never know.
You never know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. We'll see.
What were some of your fondest memories of glitch finding, and can you share a story or two?
I definitely remember doing a lot of stuff in the zoo and like just trying to get into the aquarium for like a long time, and that being like a big thing to do. That was a lot of fun. Um, I had a particular experience. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I definitely remember playing the zoo a lot, and then I feel like a lot of it was like a lot of my memories were just like staying up really late, playing games and glitching, and just kind of I would have to like get off because it was just too late and people were still playing. But there's that like fear of missing out kind of thing because everyone else was
Yeah.
still playing in America and things. And so I remember
Oh
doing
yeah.
that, and then I'd like I was just like playing till like 3 or 4 a.m. and then getting up at like I don't know 7 a.m. or something, going to college at the time. I was like 16 or something, um, and then coming back and just like sleeping and then going back on later on in the evening and just playing late at night because that's what everyone else was doing. So I was just in this like crazy like pattern of sleep, but just so I could play the game more and hang out with people I was playing, a lot with. So I think that's a lot of my memories. But specific experiences, I think a lot of time on the zoo was fun trying to get into the aquarium.
How do you open the aquarium? The number one most asked thing
Yeah.
in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Obviously, online different, but anyway, that's
Well,
hilarious.
on here it's like already open, right? Like I went to the level and it's already like because in the story mode you can kind of like open it anyway, so it's like it's
Yeah,
been unlocked for online, so it's not even don't even need to worry about it on
yeah,
Thug Pro.
yeah. That might be on purpose too. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it must be.
Oh, I love it. You know what? It strikes me after kind of talking here for a bit. We were most anybody that was U.S. based were so inconsiderate to time zones back then. I'm just struck by this. I don't know why, because I mean we've had. I don't. This was certainly not. We talk about this almost every episode, not by design, but every one of Freddie and I's guests have been European except for like two. Everybody else is from Europe or UK, and so hearing you guys talk about time zones and just all these different things, I'm like, wow, we were so rude about time zones back then. We didn't even care, I guess, or maybe we just didn't think about it because everybody was younger. I wasn't younger, but I don't know. It just strikes me now.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't remember bringing it up with people that much. I remember just playing though. So I could see the same thing with other people that you just playing the game for what it is and not really talking about it a whole lot. So,
sure.
but yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know so many of the podcasts have been with Europeans already too. And I lived in America for like 8 years, so I just moved back to the UK too. So you missed
Oh
your
wow.
window for like uh having I was on the West Coast as well, so it would have been even easier with
Oh, it
you,
would have
Toad.
been perfect. Good
I
gosh.
know.
We could have got a beer, or a pint, as you would say, right?
I know, yeah.
uh, so many players have certain glitches learned early on in their time with Tony Hawk that they may hold a special nostalgic attachment to. For Freddie, I should have let you read this question, Freddie, but for it was him as the college mansion backyard in Johnson Hall. What were some of your personal favorite glitches from the games?
Yeah, I liked Johnson Hall a lot and the college mansion backyard. They were a lot of fun. Aquarium was always fun. Um, let's think. I'm trying to think what else I enjoyed a lot. Um, man, so many that my mind's gone blank. But what else? Like I remember in Rio, just like going behind some of the buildings in Tony Express Skater 3. That was always a lot of fun for me. Um, and usually those ones where you can get to like high places that people couldn't reach, like like we are in the college, like above everyone. Those
Yeah,
those were definitely like oh my god, what's he doing over there? Kind of kind of ones that
definitely.
were definitely some favorites. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Do you guys have
Just
favorites?
um, I mean, aside from college, I like the mall roof in San Francisco and Alcatraz. How you can set custom to get under the water.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The under the
Oh,
water
I
is
forgot
always
about
good.
that. I think I did that one time. Because, like I said, I went on along the adventure for some glitches on occasion, but not too often. They had to be pretty easy.
Do you remember the hidden shaft in Alcatraz that you kind of bail into?
Yeah, I was trying to remember how to do that earlier because I didn't do that one too often. But yeah, I remember that one. And I was trying to do one earlier because I was playing this just before we did the podcast, and it was on Alcatraz, and there was a certain area at the back where if you bailed onto the pipes and then fell down into the water, you'd be doing like a falling animation. And if you hit it just right, you'd bounce back up to the floor, and you'd just be
Oh,
like
Hmm.
flying around, just like doing this falling animation, and you had to like get it perfect. And I was just trying to see if you could still do that in the Thug engine, because it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, and
just
it almost seemed like it, but I couldn't quite get it. So,
just real quick for the record, while we have you here, can you explain in your own words how exactly you get into Johnson Hall?
um, for me, the way I would do it was I would jump towards it, and then people think I'm crazy because I would press on my PlayStation 2 controller, I'd press triangle just as I'm landing, and so I felt like that would like get me in somehow, but everyone was just like, no, that doesn't do anything. But I haven't been able to do it on Thug Pro, so maybe I don't know if it's me or the game, but yeah, it used to be I'd jump at it and kind of land and press triangle, and it almost worked the same as like corner glitching for me somehow. I don't know why it would sort of somehow get me in a little bit closer, and then I could get into the room. But
Is
everyone,
the reason why it's so tricky is because it's just like you're basically trying to corner glitch into a flat wall kind of thing?
yeah, pretty much. You usually have like the wall to bounce off to kind of like you get one part of your body into the wall when it's a corner, but when it's just kind of straight, you just sort of end up like not just sort of being pushed out unless just have to jump in far enough that your body's in the right side of it to then the collision just stop kind of working.
So
So it's a weird one.
yeah, chat's saying do a flip when you're midair, basically, and I think that kind of helps to advance you forward Kickflip, I
Yeah,
think, is the main one that helps to. I don't know why. I'm not. I'm the wrong person.
I
uh,
mean, it definitely feels different in this game than, I mean, Tony Hawk's 4. So I don't know if there's I don't know if people are still doing this and it's easy or not, but it definitely feels slightly different. But then I haven't played it for so long, so
yeah, sure. I'm gonna
So,
see. We've got Crad who stood the glitch vault back up. He's pretty darn formidable in his glitch game. We might see if he might wanna. He says he can't do it. I was gonna have him jump in here. He's in the chat there, so he says he doesn't have enough time. So anyway, I thought we'd just see. Go ahead, Freddie.
I just wanted to ask real quick. The TXO glitch vault, it featured hundreds of glitches spanning all the way from Tony Hawk 2 to Thug 2. Did you ever actively look for glitches on Thaw or any of the later games?
um, I did briefly. I think I definitely remember playing them. I don't know, something I kind of lost interest a little bit after Thug 2, and again something to do with the release schedule too. Like I feel like Thor came out a lot later in the UK than it did for America. So I feel like when I actually got online to play it, there was so many people that had already played a lot and glitched a lot. I feel like it was quite a late release, or either that, or for some reason I bought it a lot later, and so that kind of deterred me a little bit with some of the glitching in the later games. So yeah, I don't know. And then people had mixed feelings about the game too. Um, so the people you used to play with weren't always there, and some people were, and yeah, it was just I remember it being a pretty different time. And so I didn't do too much then. I don't think. I'll probably look at the glitch vault and see like a whole bunch of stuff I've done or something that I've forgotten about now. But I really don't remember doing much on Thor.
I think the probably the primary glitching clan that stayed active, I don't even know how far because I haven't looked at the site. Was Bigo for sure? They kept doing it for a very very long time, all the way through. I think they even have glitches for 5, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, I actually looked at their website before this too, and they have some even for this that are like different glitches that are just for this game too, like Thug Pro, which I was kind of surprised by. I thought it would be just kind of rehashed, older stuff, but they're still looking at new things too.
sure. So you had released a large set of Pro Skater 4 Game Shark codes, which Freddie actually still has to this day. What kinds of tools did you need to make use of those codes on PS2? Only know of Game Shark, Codebreaker, and Action Replay.
Yeah, you needed any of those. I think I think I was doing I had Action Replay. I think was the kind of European version of like I think it was Codebreaker or something, or Game. It was Game Shark in America, right? That was the main one.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I remember that being something that I got into for an amount of time where I was just kind of figuring out ways to kind of just guess. I was doing a lot of guesswork, basically just kind of making changes to like pieces, like because Action Replay in Game Shark, if you're not familiar with it, basically just changes some pieces of memory in the game as you're playing, and it's a common thing like trainers and kind of replacing memory in game to give you infinite lives and all that kind of thing. And so I was trying different things like, oh, let me try and see if I can learn how to make codes, or can I just guess some pieces of memory and see what happens. And I came up with some weird stuff where I changed like the manual bar where the arrow would like go floating off somewhere else and things like that, which is totally useless. And some kind of weird codes like that. And then I know a lot of the modding stuff kind of turned into codes too, because essentially you could do the same kind of modding changes but in memory instead. And I feel like I don't know if I did that many of those. I remember there was a guy called Haggard that did quite a few of those, and maybe Biohacker too. There's a mix of people, but I can't remember which codes I even did. Like I'd be curious to see even those Game Shark codes to see if I remember like which ones I did. You know.
Yeah, I remember using some of Haggard's codes on Tony Hawk 4, specifically Moon Gravity Online to film some stuff.
That's right. Yeah, he was doing it a lot more than me, and so I may have just like added a few in, and I don't know, I was trying some stuff, and I don't know. I think both of our stuff probably got mixed in together, and it may look like my work or his work or something like that.
I forgot about Haggard until you guys mentioned it. That's a familiar name too. So many
Yeah,
cool people, so many contributors to this game and this community over the years. It's just amazing.
yeah, definitely. There's so many different communities and clans, and just people doing different styles of gameplay and altering the game in different ways. It was crazy.
So speaking of that, glitching became a very big deal online back in the old days. So much so that there were entire clans dedicated to just glitching. How did it feel when you went online and saw complete strangers attempting and learning glitches that you helped discover?
I think that was always fun. It was just fun. I feel like I always had a lot of patience for other people doing those things that maybe some other people didn't have. So I'd enjoyed like kind of helping people do those things, or show them ones that I've done, or see them that they've learnt ones that I'd done or others had done. Same with like some of the modding stuff too. People would just come and ask me, and I didn't really mind like trying to show people. And like we were talking about before, there was a lot of really young players trying to do this stuff, and yeah, I remember a lot of people not really having the patience to do stuff, and I remember spending a lot of time like helping people, and then being super grateful. Like they were so grateful, but then I think I just killed so much time helping people too that it became quite draining to do that kind of thing. So it was a mix.
Yeah, that's funny. I was talking with somebody last night and telling them that you were going to be the guest today, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" Anytime Invisible Man was online, he would instantly get bugged by so many people to like post the lost levels, or to show him how to do this glitch, or how do let me show you, like you had kind of expressed before. And I kind of remembered that, but then when they said that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's right." You got bugged constantly for show me how to do this, show me what that mean, whatever it is, so
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot. I even forget how much it was. Yeah, it was yeah, it was crazy sometimes, especially as it was like doubled up with glitching and modding as well after a while, and game shark codes, and it was just like people wanting all these different things, and I'm just like, Jesus, leave me alone.
oh man. So let's see. When did you actively stop participating in glitching?
I think it was around American Wasteland. Things were kind of quieting down for that, and like I said, I'd kind of slowed down playing the games. Yeah, I think I'd kind of lost some interest around there. Um, I don't really remember doing too many then. I remember just sort of playing the game for what it was. Yeah, I think it was definitely around then. I'm not sure who else had stopped around then though. I think Glitch Vault was still doing some things, but maybe it wasn't me. It may have been Biscuit and some of the others. I know, yeah, the other clans were still going strong doing glitching, I think. But yeah, I definitely slowed down with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. For those listening on voice replay, Invisible Man is under the level in Alcatraz right now, so some of the glitches from 4 still work in Thug Pro.
So, when did your involvement with the glitch fault eventually die off?
I guess around the same time. I mean, I don't remember like formally saying, "Hey, I'm not doing this anymore." Um, Maybe I did. I don't really remember doing that, but I feel like I just kind of stopped around the same time. I kind of slowed down playing American Wasteland. Yeah, I'm not sure how much longer it kept going between that time, or what Onion was doing around that time, but it definitely slowed down then.
Yeah, this is the foggy part for me. This is one of the questions that I had was there were 2 hosted sites that continued on after TXO closed its doors after Benson shut it, and that was Glitchful and then as well as Creator Review. Um, Were you still involved with that? Did you pay for the hosting? Do you know any of that kind of story or that tale on, who was still running it? Was it Biscuit? Was it Onion? Was it, do you remember?
Uh, no, I really don't. I didn't have anything to do with like paying for hosting or anything like that. As far as I know, it was all Benson was doing all the. I thought the hosted sites like Glitchvolt were still under Benson's kind of like hosting and payment and everything like that. And
Yeah, it was. It was all on Carl, but at the end, so like for creator review, Bungle actually took that over, and he actually ended up paying for the hosting of that, and he set it up. He had a Cold Fusion server and whatever. But I know Glitchvolt continued on after TXO shut, and so I was just curious if you remembered that, or if you remembered who was involved, or who paid for it, or what that looked like.
yeah, it's really hazy. I really can't remember. Yeah, I
No
feel like
worries.
yeah, that's no, it sounds true though. I vaguely remember it's still living on, and I don't know what happened with that or who took it on or I feel like I even asked questions at the time to maybe Benson like what's happening with this or something, but
Sure.
yeah, I really don't remember.
Back in the day, you had several glitch clans out there. You mentioned Glitch Cult. There was Gru, Glitchers RS. But aside from the glitch fault, the only other prominent Tony Hawk glitch database that existed was hosted by the B-Goat clan. Did you ever interact with anyone from B-Goat or perhaps share a bit of competition with them in finding new glitches?
Yeah, I played with them a lot, and it's a weird name, and when it's just like that, but go. But yeah, I remember playing with them a lot. I remember there being like kind of a little bit of rivalry with that kind of thing. They were there was a lot in the clan in their group, and they were finding a lot of things. I think. Yeah, I remember them finding like the set custom restart kind of jumping thing in I think it was in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, and that being kind of a big deal. And yeah, they were cool people to play with though. I played with them a lot, and they found some interesting stuff. And at the end of the day, we were all doing the same kind of thing, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I forgot about was it Gru? Was it Gru? You said was that the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, like hearing it said, I don't recognize it, but like now I'm imagining the clan tag on someone's name, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I kind of remember that. Um,
It's so funny. You'll find I probably should have mentioned this. I man, Freddie has an incredible Tony Hawk memory. And he's humble about that too, but it's unbelievable what he remembers. It's seriously almost scary. He'll bust some stuff out, and I'm like, Freddie, how did you remember that? And he just has a great memory for it, and so he'll say stuff like that, like what he just did with the Gru, and you're just
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So,
I know. My memory's terrible. I
oh,
just like
mine
realized
too.
memory. Well, I watched. It's funny. I made myself watch one of the podcasts because I just haven't had the chance to do it. And then
Sure.
even just that one podcast, it was your interview, and it just reminded me of a whole bunch of things. And I'm like, oh man, there's so much stuff in like my mind somewhere to do with playing Tony Hawk's that I've just like locked away and not touched for like so long.
Oh, the
Yeah, it's
podcasts.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've caught up on all of them now because Mr. Freeze had done 20 and I didn't watch all of them live. I've watched them all live now, or I've listened to the replays of all of them now, and oh my goodness, it's just a crazy how much of that stuff you kind of lock away in the back corners, your dusty corners of your mind, and some stuff just brings it out, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally forgot about that, but now that you say it, I remember
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah, like you guys mentioning just names, I was just like, oh my god, yeah, I forgot about like Bunker King and Pants in a Can. Like I heard you mention those, and I was like, oh, I
sure.
totally forgot about those names. Yeah.
So do you remember any of the best glitchers, like specific people from that time? I mean, we talked about several clans, but is there anybody that you were just like, oh my gosh, I think you talked about that one guy that you'd always come into his room and find him sitting on top of the level or whatever. I don't remember who you said, but you got a couple of people that were like, these were incredible glitchers.
I think. Let's think. I mean, I played with, like I said a few times, like I played with Glitch Cult a lot. So that guy that was always sitting around was GC Turd Gazer,
Turd
and then
Gazer, right?
yeah.
I love that name.
And then I played a lot with the rest of the GC people, which was like Raven, Raiden. Tones, Zyno, yeah, a
Oh,
whole bunch of
Zyno, yeah, yeah, yeah.
whole bunch of people. Begoat, I remember playing. Oh man, who was in the Begoat clan? Like, was it Wiz or
Wiz,
someone?
yeah,
Or
Wiz was the
yeah,
leader, and Nick was. Uh, it's funny that you say it, Bagoat. I don't know
is
why that
that
just tickles me
is
for
that
some
weird?
reason. No, I just call it Begoat. I don't know Bagoat. Just it's just a different way to say it.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is like we were all like, I don't remember ever talking to anyone on like a voice chat
Oh,
because it was
sure.
all like
No, no, no.
it was all like keyboard. So like I never heard any of these like terms like said like clan names and stuff really like
Yeah.
spoken aloud. So it's a strange thing.
It is for sure. Yeah, man, I can't remember because yeah, Wiz, Nick, and then like I said later, Biz is in Bagoat now, and that's how I'm gonna have to refer to it from now on, just because I I like it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember like Soup Can
hmm
and Ken Man being like two people I played a lot with at the beginning of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 as like glitches that had a lot. But yeah, I don't know. There's just like a ton of people. I'm probably
Sure.
forgetting all kinds of people, but I remember playing with JHOO like clan a little bit too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Jew. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're still around.
Oh, and I forgot as well. There was like the Commie clan as well.
Yeah. You
I
bet.
forgot about that. Yeah, yeah.
Who was in Kami? I don't even remember any of the names.
Um,
Come on,
man, I
Freddie.
can't remember.
I feel like it was mentioned. I feel like it was mentioned before on the podcast, but I
It
don't
probably
remember.
was. Oh, I'm surprised you don't know.
There's someone I played a lot with in Commie, and I just can't remember the name now. Man,
Gara. Andy says in the chat, Gara was in Kami. INF was in Kami.
INF. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the Tony Hawk improv community, they have over the years and now more than ever adopted several glitches that are regularly used throughout their gameplay. More commonly referred to as techs, these have been used to push the boundaries of improv gameplay and achieve transfers that no one thought possible. Some techs that come are boost plants, BHRA, raw wide bounce, and hops. How do you feel about glitches being used in this way all these years later?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool that's happened. It's just another way to like play the game and enjoy it and have fun with it. Yeah, I don't know. I've always been impressed with that kind of thing. I'm pretty terrible at usually doing any of that stuff, or even remembering the names. To be honest, people say stuff and I'm like, what the hell's that again? Um, but yeah, I think it's a really cool thing to do. And I like to see how it's grown and there's been like new things found and that kind of thing, and it makes the improv gameplay look pretty impressive, I think. And it was cool for like the Get There series as well, like finding new techniques to like kind of get from one place to the other and make it look cool too.
Yeah, this is a topic of conversation that goes a long way with some guests because some people feel have pretty strong opinions about not liking kind of these texts that are kind of actually glitches and but there's a lot of people that take the same opinion as you do where it's just like okay well that's just the way you play it. Like I was playing with Orb the other night and he was talking about how he really thinks that the texts just have extended the life of the series because if you're still playing it grounded gameplay instead of being able to boost plant really high to the ceiling and then find interesting transfers off of that, well, you'd just completely be bored. And I was like, wow, that's an interesting way to put it. So it's cool to hear your take on it as well.
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing, right? To if you find something like that and it brings new life to it, and you're able to find like if you've been doing the same, like a lot of us have been playing the same levels over and over, especially as it's like they're existing in new incarnations and things, and so
Sure.
to find like some new way of doing something like that almost like makes it more impressive too that other people haven't seen that and you're using some tech to be able to do something brand new. It's pretty exciting for other people too. So
Yeah, I love it. Good Good thoughts there. All right, we're going to talk about modding a little bit here and kind of shift into some questions surrounding this. So you got into some modding of the series early on. Not many were doing some of the creative and crazy things you did back even as early as Tony Hawk 4. Did glitching naturally lead to this aspect of your involvement in the series, or was it something else?
Yeah, I think the excitement from glitching was definitely a big part of that. It was that same oh my god, how did you do that kind of thing, just like that, seeing something impressive that was kind of different in the game um, was definitely something that kind of got me into that kind of thing, and it definitely leads into it because it's just kind of glitching is kind of like an easier step into that to be able to kind of find some things in the level that's different and get into them, and then take that to another level with like modding and being able to be like, oh man, like you're trying to do a glitch. I really wish I could get into this building or do this thing, and you can't do it. But then you start looking at modding and think, wow, that would be amazing if I could do it by like changing the game. That was like something else. That kind of followed on like some of the thoughts of like, imagine if I worked on the game and I could just change the code and do that thing I always wanted.
Seems that some modding is probably a close cousin to glitching in some aspects, getting the game to behave in ways that are abnormal. Talk about this a little bit. When is a glitch, and when is it a mod, and vice versa?
A glitch is definitely something that's you're playing the game and you're using what the game intended for you. The kind of controls that are there that are intended, and you're finding ways to maybe exploit what's already in the game. Maybe the collision on certain models isn't that great, and you're kind of exploiting that and finding a way in to do something. And whereas I'd say, so like legitimately using the game and finding things you shouldn't be able to do that, is probably just things that got through QA on the game. Um, but and then modding is kind of like, taking the actual game and changing it, modifying it to do something else or to add something else. And I'd say those are pretty different things, and have totally different capabilities, right? Like modding, you could do, if you're able to change things, you could do anything, you can add anything. Whereas glitching, you're kind of still stuck with what they've given you, but you can find something interesting and different in there.
Hmm. Who got you interested in modding the game, or were you self-taught?
Uh, I think it was a mix. I think, let me see. I want to say it was Biohacker. I think it was Biohacker that kind of got me interested in that. And it was, some of it was after being shown some things. I think I found some self interest in it and just kind of tried things out, like the game shark codes. I kind of just just tried throwing things at the wall just to see what would happen. Once if I change this one byte in this file, what happens, um, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it started with Biohacker, and then I just kind of did things from there and learned things from what he was doing too, and kind of mixed it up.
Biohacker, for those listening to the replay, he's also known as Chase. So if you don't know who Biohacker is, you probably know who Chase is. So
Yeah.
Which Tony Hawk titles did you end up playing around with modding on?
It started on Thug, and then I think after learning some things, we did some things on Thug 2, and then went back on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 and did some things. And I remember looking at Disney Skate Adventure, trying to do some similar things, but I couldn't quite get any of that to work the way I wanted. So um, yeah, it was kind of once we'd figured out some things. I mean, now you can do like so much stuff, so it doesn't matter. But back then, yeah, I remember doing a few things on Thug and Thug 2, and then ultimately getting a few more things on Tony Hawk's 4. Like I remember getting the debug menu on Tony Hawk's 4 eventually, and some other things.
so we're gonna take a look at a couple of videos now. that kind of get into and segue into this next section that we're going to talk about and some of this modding stuff. So we're going to take a look first. There's some We've got some huge creative skaters, and this kind of shows an example of some of the stuff that you're doing back then. And I know it's probably going to be a little bit delayed if you're looking at it on Twitch, but um, we've got just this monster skater, and this is early. This is Tony Hawk's Underground. You saw a lot of this kind of stuff going on. How did you figure out the method for making stuff like this happen, and maybe talk about that process a little bit?
The method for it. Well, this specific example I don't really remember, but I know it was just kind of changing the min and max kind of scaling settings. You can scale the character in different body parts, and there's that limitation of you can only reach this bar, the end of this bar. It's going to be some like integer value somewhere in the script, and I don't remember if I did that or someone else gave it to me. It's real blurry, but either way, it was kind of changing that to be unlimited, I think, or nulling it out or something like that. And the process to do that kind of thing was like really painful because it's PlayStation 2, right? So it was you would have to make an ISO of the game, like extract all the files from like these different files, and then there's these we found out that a lot of the files were in like this compressed like pre file it was called, and inside of there was all the scripts for the game, right? And so you could also have them extracted alongside this file. And so we found out if you replace it with like just zeros, it will load the loose files instead of this one big game file. And so we would change that to force it to load these local files, and then you try and change the script, or you would repack it. And either way, once you've done all these changes, you then have to put it back together and put it back into the ISO, and it had to be the exact same file size. Otherwise, like checksums wouldn't work, or the ISO would be like broken. And so you had to use all these like tools to kind of get it in the right place. And I remember, like, for example, trying to get the debug menu to show, it's already in there because they had a debug menu in the game. And so it'd just be like enabling it, right? It would be like setting some value to true somewhere. But to do that, it meant like I've added a new byte or a few new bytes to the file. And then that meant the file was too big to be recognized as a proper disk format in the PlayStation 2. And so then I'd have to go in and find something else I could delete to make it still the original size. And there was a bunch of tools we used to use, like Magic ISO, and I had like a WAD rip file, tool that would extract the skate for head and WAD files, and then we didn't really have the some of the tools that are around now for extracting stuff, so we were still working in like compressed scripts, partially compressed scripts, and trying to edit the pieces that weren't compressed to kind of make these changes. And it just meant a lot of burning PlayStation 2 discs, basically, to trial and error for me, to get some of those results.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize it was that involved. That is crazy. You had to have the patience of a saint to make that stuff happen.
I
Wow.
know. I was just thinking it must have been like all that glitching as like preparation to like have this patience, and then people bugging me, and like, now I've got the patience to like burn a million PlayStation discs until I make this thing work or something.
Wow. So you must have spent like a small fortune on discs just to.
Yeah, well, it started with discs, and then they had the HD loader, so you could put a hard drive in the PlayStation 2, and so then I had like an ID hard drive that I had plugged into my computer, and then I'd use some tool. I can't remember what it's called, like some PlayStation tool to copy the ISO to the hard drive. But even that was painful though, because I'd have to like screw it in. I'd have to like connect it into my computer, and that was like painful. And then copy the file, the ISO, and that would take a long time. And then you'd unplug it and then plug it into the PlayStation 2, which is like almost as long as doing the CD or whatever. Anyway, DVD, and then find out that it doesn't work because you made the ISO too big or something.
Wow.
So it was really really painful. So that stuff.
We're continuing to watch some clips that Invisbleman did over the course of time and playing with, um, pedestrians back in Thug One, which I mean that just wasn't a thing. I mean in Thug Pro, it's not uncommon to see that kind of stuff. Now people make their own custom stuff wherever, and yeah, like this right here, we're in. This is the practice, like the I don't remember what this is called. Somebody uncovered this later, but when I saw this video, it's like, wow, this was so early to find this. Um, it's just
Was is
amazing.
that the debug level? Is that
Yeah, the debug level. That's what
yeah
I'm trying to. That's what I was trying to say.
yeah yeah. Yeah, those are kind of funny to see. Like that's it's really interesting to see actually, just to see what they're trying out, and and of course it makes sense that they'd have all that already built in. But it was just always so amazing to be able to do that yourself though, and just see all the options and just like turn something on, which you can do so easily now in Thug Pro. Um, but yeah, to be able to do that in the game was on a PlayStation, like always felt really amazing. Yeah, and I think doing the like lost levels on Thug was always like one of those ones that was like super impressive too. Um, just because everyone had the files on their disk, so there was never the situation where the game would freeze for anyone if you were able to load those levels because everyone had them. So
Right.
just being able to like switch those on and start a server where you were playing a level that no one had played, and then you'd have like a bunch of people join and be like, "What the hell's this level? Where did you get? How did you get this?" That was always a lot of fun.
Here's an off-the-cuff question that wasn't on the sheet. When you had a huge creative skater like that, was the collision so like in a collision-based game like King of the Hill or Slap? Did obviously you're a super easy target for transferring the crown if your creative skater's that huge. Was the collision that big?
Nah, the collision was like normal. I think you could
Oh,
even do,
funny.
when you can make your character that. I think there was like Game Shark codes or something else or maybe in-game cheats that could make your character big as well, but you could never do it online, and so that's why I really wanted to have that shown too, because it was kind of like a join a game, and people were like, "What? You're able to do that in the game, online, but yeah, the collision was always the same. And I remember in Manhattan, you go under like one of the subway pieces or whatever, and you're kind of still sticking out the top. It doesn't. There's no collision kind of differences really.
Sure. Freddie, you still with us?
Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to let the video play
Oh yeah,
first.
no, I'm playing one more video. This last video that I have that's playing right now, I man, is kind of more of your play. It's got a little bit more of your play style. It's a good mix of kind of some of your content and probably hanging out with some of your friends, some names that are really hard to see, but and this is done in more of a kind of edited style. I would some of the stuff that Nacho was doing back then, Andy's project, probably some inspiration on some of this, and some. Was this all like free cam stuff? I don't know if you can see the Twitch or not.
I don't have Twitch open, but I think I know which video you mean. Actually, what I did was I think I had a mod that made the character invisible, and I've just followed and the board invisible, like the deck invisible and stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I just followed people around. And so you might see a giant shadow on the floor in a bunch of shots on that. But yeah, it wasn't free cam. It was me following in some situations. I think
Got it. Got.
that's why it was kind of interesting to like actually try and do some kind of video piece that looked a little bit different at the time. I was like, oh, I can get some angles that no one else can do. Maybe I'll try and do this.
It was almost like an invisible cast type situation. Then
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, this is good stuff. This is super interesting. If I remember correctly, didn't you help Andy with some of the shots in his project video because you were able to achieve some of this kind of interesting angle stuff and some of the stuff that we're seeing in this video right now?
I think maybe I gave him the like invisible skater or something. That might
Okay.
have been it. I can't remember. Yeah, I think I think I gave him something. I didn't like actively go in and help or anything, but I think I may have uploaded even the Invisible Skater to like the vault or something at the time. Um, yeah,
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, he says Annie in the chat says he gave you an oversized skater. And Xinjiang, you could if you
that's it.
change the camera angle by pressing select, the skater appears invisible.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that was exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he says it was used in a video Freddie that was shouted out called Run Skep Run. Used it for videos, and then Tenzo was the bull in the video in Run Skep Run. So shout out Tenzo. Where's that guy? He's another one that I enjoyed playing with
Yeah,
back then.
I forgot about
Yeah. Freddie, if you want to go ahead, we'll keep going
Yeah,
with
we
our
have
questions.
a question regarding created parks. Merging and stacking in creative parks was a really cool aspect and feature of the games. Do you recall who discovered that glitch?
No, I do not. I know it wasn't me, because I was never really into creating parks that much. In fact, they're probably like the one set of glitches that I really didn't bother trying even once either. Like I just really wasn't that interested. I think if you look at the glitch vault pictures, I'm pretty sure I'm not doing any of the creator park stuff because yeah, I don't know. I just either wasn't very good at it or wasn't interested that much in it. So I'm not sure. I don't know. Do you remember, Dode, like how you did some of that stuff, or anyone on the team
Yeah, it
learned those
was
things?
the first person I ever remember showing it to me was Hitston.
Oh, okay.
If you remember
Yeah.
Hitston,
Yeah. No, I do.
Hitston seemed like he was into it, and then I can't remember if he's. There were a few creative part glitches like rail cannon, and then rail sheets. Both of those, uh, various people showed me. Biohacker probably showed me some. Hitston for sure, and then Evil God was
Oh,
an absolute master at creative park glitches. I still have some of his creative parks that are glitched with crazy stuff. I mean, back in Thug, maybe even four, as early as four. Bungle understood some glitches, like he had his cotton candy creative park. So anyway, this one's not about me. I could go on and on, but anyway, yeah,
no, it's good. It's good because I really don't know that side of it. I remember all those names and all the creative parks that they worked on and things like that. But
sure,
yeah, I can't quite pinpoint where it came from. Because I was thinking, I remember Onion doing creative park glitches and things too, so it could have been him too. But those guys were doing so many crazy things in parks that I could see them just discovering it and showing us. Like it may have been hits done.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still friends with Hitston. Maybe we could consider having him as a guest on. He hung around for a while. He actually ended up being on the Denied Clothing team, including myself and Andy and a couple others, and where we kind of tried to branch out into the swag line and not just focus on Tony Hawk. It didn't go so well, but Hitston was in there. But yeah.
I I had a T-shirt, man. I had the
Oh,
tonight T-shirt. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I still have one too. Actually, Benson gave the design files for Denied because Mr. Freeze asked for them, and so I've got the design files. I don't know. It's such a pain to have to go through, getting something printed and then inventory and shipping and all that. And I really don't know how many people would actually be interested in buying Denied clothing at this point. But anyway.
It'd be good. It'd be good to get it in the game in Thug Pro or something, though. Just as like T-shirt
It's a
sticker
logo.
logo.
Yeah,
It
it's in
is.
there.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
sticker. It's a logo. Yeah, it's my stickers. When I do a sticker slap, I still do the Denied. And then of course, if you go to the East LA logo, it's on or East LA level. It's on the billboards and so forth and so on. So.
Nice. Shows how much I played Thug Pro.
No worries at all. So let's see. You probably already know this, but Thug Pro, the devs, they add a toggleable option in Creative Park, so it gives you the ability to merge and stack and have unlimited cap space. I mean, maybe even in. I'll change the question just slightly based on what you've seen of Thug Pro. I mean, this would have been the stuff of dreams, especially for modding and for toggleable options and all changing the time of day and all the cool stuff that the devs have added. What are your opinions of Thug Pro?
I mean, it's amazing. Like everything you can do is crazy. But as far as like Creator Park,
Hmm.
like yeah, being able to do unlimited cap space is amazing. But I also think that maybe some of that restriction made people come up with some pretty creative things at the time.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it's a weird balance. But I don't know. I think some of that restriction as well is probably because it was on consoles and things too, and I'm sure PC can handle a lot more, being able to scale to bigger sizes and things. But trying to save those files on a memory card for something is probably going to be hard. But yeah, I love everything that's going on with Thug Pro, and it's definitely interested me like what's what's kind of evolved out of things that I kind of tinkered with a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to all the developers, Thug Pro, Morton Quaz, gone. It's incredible stuff. So
Yeah, this probably just sounds like stuff from the Stone Age to them now, with like all the tools that are out. Like I've seen some of the tools that are out, and I'm just like, oh man, you can do all kinds of stuff now.
I think it's important though to understand the history of it. That's why I thought that it would be really cool to have you on as a guest because of the fact that you were into this stuff so early on, and doing stuff well before there were established tool sets. It just blows my mind that you burned all these ISOs on these discs over and over again just to get one thing right. I mean, that's just amazing stuff. So I find it really interesting to hear. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
it's
important.
either the sign of a madman or just someone or just someone like really dedicated or has no time or
Yeah,
something.
someone with too much time on their hands.
Yeah, you wouldn't
So,
find me doing that now. So
Yeah.
from talking to you today, we know that you got pretty deep into modding the game at one point, all the way down to hex editing. How much was possible on the console versus what truly had to be done on PC?
I think at the time you could do a lot on both. But like I was saying, how fast you could test something on PC is probably, I imagine, a lot faster. I didn't really do much on the PC other than looking at the files just to see if there was something I could find different. I know a lot of like the FUK clan, like Motherfuck and Blub and
Yeah,
other people were
Mudda's
doing a lot of
Mudda's still
that.
around, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
And KSK, he was doing some things there as well, I think. But
Yep.
yeah, I think I mean on the PS2 there was just like I was saying a lot of limitations as far as like you have to make everything fit back on the disc and you have to burn the disc and all those things. So um, I think it's there. You could still do a lot of the same things, but there's the limitations of like how big the disc was or things like that. Like you couldn't make Thug Pro on like a PS2 disc, I guess. I'm guessing, or like maybe do the unlimited cap size like we were talking about on PS2. It feels like there's going to be, hardware limitations for things maybe, and there's obviously reasons developers made certain choices, and so
Sure.
there's a lot of things you can do to like tweak the game, but the larger scale things there's probably going to be hit some limitations compared to PC, for sure. Yeah.
So you talked about it earlier, uh, finding a way to turn the debug menu on in the games. Did you actually uncover that through some of these tricks that you talked about? Did you have a copy of did you have like a developer copy of the game with the bug already on? Talk about that, and what did that do to kind of expand the game for you, and what you could do with some of that debug stuff?
um so for the debug stuff, again, it's real hazy. Like with it, I don't. A lot of the stuff, like I think Biohacker had done, Chase had done, and shared with me, or I may have found. It's really hard to remember. But the debug stuff, it was literally, it. You can find those strings, like the word debug menu, kind of in the files in there, and you could see like the hex bytes and try and figure out. And over time, I understood that parts of those files were compressed, and some pieces that you edit were really just going to break the game. You had to like edit the pieces that weren't compressed because it was doing like a sliding window compression kind of thing, um, which is like common in games, and it just became kind of painful to do some of that. But the debug menu, it was kind of turning on just like this piece in the script that was, they turned it off to ship the game, right? So it was either changing like these few bytes that represented whether it was going to be on or off, or either completely copying this section and pasting it into the menu where you would normally see it. So that I didn't have any kind of like special game that already had this on or anything. It was just kind of finding the piece to change and kind of copying and pasting the right bytes to do it. Um, and at the time, that was before there was any kind of tools to like uncompress the files and do stuff. So, like I was saying earlier, it would be trying to make the file kind of dummy load some other file and then make changes there, or like make the changes directly in the pre. It was called like a pre file. Um, but yeah, it was like main menu.qb was the file, I think. And yeah, once you had it on, then the options in there, it was just like everything they were testing. In Thug, it was like turn on, change the time of day, and you know, or I really can't remember what else was in there. Maybe cheats were in there. Um, yeah, there was different things in there, and changing levels, and maybe loading in different pedestrians and things. Um, yeah, there's some weird particle effects I think you could test. There was like debug info on the screen, like you could see your position and maybe other information. And again, similar things on the other. I remember on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 debug menu, you could like give yourself like lots of cash, which is obviously so
Oh,
developers
funny.
could. Yeah, I think it even said something about Kurt sick, in there, like yeah, as you did it. And then
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
of course there was, because Neversoft always had crap like that in there. I love it.
yeah, they had some pretty interesting stuff. I think that was so you could then, go through the game. Like you didn't have to go through and complete all the goals to get the cash or go collect the cash or whatever it was. You can just skip ahead, which is, what you need to do when you're testing. You don't want to like play the whole game every time. Um, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff, but it didn't change, how the game was played particularly for me, or changed or expanded it. It was just like, this is a fun thing, and look at this, and hey,
Sure.
everyone, look at this thing. But it's also just interesting to see what they tested and looked at, and toggled on and off and things. And I'm sure Andy probably saw a lot of this stuff, you know, anyway, when he was working there. But
Yeah.
So you released your own tools for modding at one point and made them available to the public. Talk about that and how do you think it was received?
uh, yeah, what did I release? So I was making tools at the time. Like I was doing some programming with something called Delphi, which is like similar to Visual Basic, and I just took the things I knew about programming and took the things I knew about editing the game and kind of mixed them together. Like I remember making an application that would edit a skate park. Like you could type in the numbers for the X and Y for pieces and some other things like that, and then like move, like kind of edit like your park. And then what else did I do? I remember doing some pieces for like editing the game executable so that you could have like certain cheats on, I think. Maybe there was like perfect balance or something I found. I think they were the Game Shark cheats I found. And maybe I made a tool that would like just patch the game to have them in it instead of being like codes you ran. I think that was one of the tools I made. Yeah, just a bunch of things that I kind of tried out at the time. Um, how well they were received, I don't I don't know who used them really. I remember a few people like I may have just been making it for like one person that wanted something, and I was just trying to do it, and then I don't really know how well they were received or used, but I still have all those tools. I think they're on my GitHub.
Nice. So the modding community got quite large at one point. Many people still modding these games, not just Thug Pro to this day. Did you have a group of friends? You talked about all of this with them, or are there others into modding back then? And you touched on this a little bit, but maybe you can talk about it a little bit more. If so, who are those folks?
Yeah, it was definitely for modding stuff. It was definitely Biohacker, Haggard. Um, then I also remember doing quite a bit with GC Zyno. He was doing some stuff with me on the lost levels. I think those are the main people that I would kind of talk to about modding things. Yeah, I know there was obviously other people on the outskirts of that were doing a lot more, or maybe even did these mods and gave them to me. Like I can't, I really don't remember. But there was people like the fucks that we were talking about, and KS Skater, he was doing stuff, and lots of people that I'm sure probably ended up working on Thug Pro now. Um, that I'm sure did a lot of this stuff too. But that was the small group of people that I kind of talked to. Yeah, and then I had a lot of like new people that were just like, "How do I do this thing?" And then like talking to them on AIM or something, and just like
Yeah,
trying
for
to help them
sure.
do something.
Have you ever met or do you know any of the devs from the Thug Pro mod project? Currently, the dev team consists of Morton, Quaz, Gon, with occasional assistance from KSK, and at one time Chase, also known as Biohacker. Rest in peace.
Um, no, I never met any of them in person. I used to play and talk to Biohacker and KSK. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen Morton around on like developing Thug Pro stuff or on the forums like in the previous years because I'd sort of checked in a couple of times and seen some things that people have been doing. But yeah, I don't really know. I can't really remember. I mean, I may have played with them or I may have spoken to them on forums and things. I really don't know. But I haven't had much participation in the last few years, so yeah, I don't know too many new folks these days.
Yeah. I'm going to skip the next question because I think we've already touched on it quite a bit, just talking about what your thoughts on Thug Pro, and I think you covered that pretty well. So, Freddie, if you want to go
Cool.
ahead.
Um, what is your proudest accomplishment from modding overall?
I think I think it has to be like the Lost Levels. It was just like it had a name, the Lost Levels, and then on top of that, just the fact that it was a PlayStation 2 game and anyone could kind of join the server and it would work and they would have these levels that they hadn't seen, and I think that was impressive and definitely a favorite. It comes back to that whole like wow factor, again, just like, oh, how are we doing this? How are we playing this? Or then also like it just meant a lot of people wanted to join my game and play with me too, which is always fun to have. you know.
I remember when that all was discovered and came out and everything. It was just mind blowing. Everybody was so like, "Oh my gosh, lost levels!" Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think a lot of people thought it was a lie at first. Like, no, that's not a thing. That's not even possible. And I remember if there were screenshots or videos or people just trying to get a hold of you to play. And yeah, I remember getting to play the first time the Lost Levels, and my mind was just blown. It was just like, oh, this is crazy! I can't believe we're playing these levels in this game.
I know it was pretty amazing. I really enjoyed that time with all of that happening.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I love it. So, did you think in 05, 06 that people would still be playing the series in 2020?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, probably back then I would have hoped so because
Sure.
I was spending so much time, but no, I really didn't think so. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm happy to see the way things have gone and see what people are doing now, and that there's still a community, and we're here in like 2020, and there's like a new game being released that looks really cool. There's so yeah, I'm definitely surprised, but it's a good thing, and I hope that more people will play the games and play Thug Pro as well and see a lot of the same things that we enjoyed.
For sure.
So, when did you stop playing Tony Hawk and why?
Uh, the Y, I don't know. I think I just kind of slowed down a bit with it, and things with life were happening maybe. But I definitely slowed down around American Wasteland. Kind of the slow adoption for me to play it, and then just I think time zone things and maybe what was going on with my life at the time just all kind of contributed to slowing down a bit with it. Maybe glitching wasn't as fun too. I felt like a lot of the glitches after like Thug were kind of boring, or there weren't as many interesting ones to me. Um, a lot of the mods that I knew I'd kind of worked on and done, and I know there was still a lot to do that you could do, but I think I just kind of slowed down with things and moved on to other things at the time.
Did you ever play HD or 5? And what were your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I didn't play 5. I had HD. I waited for a while there until I played it because I heard what it was like, and I played it, but I made myself play it through, and it was still pretty fun. But yeah, it was just like the controls. I understand that they were trying to make it feel like some of the older games, but it just had a gameplay, like a flow to it that was just not quite there, like not quite right. It was like hard to connect things and play it the way I wanted to, so I didn't quite enjoy it the way I'd hoped. So
Yeah. Always curious to hear about people's thoughts on those two titles. It's rare you have much love for them.
well, and 5 had the giant patch as soon as you like play it, right? Is
Yeah.
that's the one that like the game wasn't even on the disc or something?
That was the theory. I think the game was on the disc because if you could play it offline, so the game did exist. But yeah, the day one patch was larger than the game itself. So, yeah, that's a whole other topic of conversation for another day, probably, to talk about whose fault was it or whatever. And I think Robomoto gets probably a lot more flack for it than maybe they should. But at the same time, they were just hard to swallow for sure for most
Yeah,
folks. So
yeah.
Uh, Currently in 2020, there are multiple tools and plugins and other things available to greatly assist with modding the games. Are those anything of interest to you, or do you feel like that ship has sailed?
Yeah, though I'm definitely still interested in that kind of thing, but I think it's just where I spend my time these days. I was looking at that a while back. It was quite a few years ago now. I'd made like a Blender plugin for something else, and I've seen that there's a Blender plugin now for. I think that's how some of these custom levels are being done, right? It's a Blender plugin or something that you can kind of mark pieces with as rails and things. I'm assuming, just guessing, but
yep, that's exactly
yeah,
right. It's a Blender plugin, and you'll be happy to note that one of the primary people that is involved with that is KSK.
oh, cool. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it's all really interesting to me. It's just a time thing. Like I feel like there's just a lot of other things that I spend my time on these days. So, but this has been a lot of fun, and I think playing the game again is and reminding me of all these things is kind of making me more interested in coming back to doing some of those things and just seeing what could be done.
Sure. Uh, do you think? Well, you just kind of answered it, but between doing the podcast, seeing where Thug Pro's at here in 2020, the new game that's coming out that's being actively developed, you think that's enough to kind of rekindle your interest a little bit, maybe play a little bit more, or do you feel like that you're kind of moved on and yeah, that was a great time of my life, and but I'm doing other things now.
It's hit and miss. I think.
Sure.
I think if you look at any of the older players, like how much time they actually, would spend on it now. Like I'm not sure how much time you spend, or I don't know, Andy or anyone else, but I'm sure there's, as we've gotten older, there's other commitments and things. So, but yeah, I'd definitely try and spend a bit more time. I hadn't even really given Thug Pro a chance, so just this week trying it out and spending some time with it and remembering some things has been a pretty good way to like feel like I can come back and play here and there.
Nice. Yeah, I play. There's a group of us that we try to get it together, a group of folks, and we play some King of the Hill, capture the flag on Friday nights. So I usually play about once a week, and then play in and around surrounding the podcast episodes and so on. And then sometimes I'll do a midweek game and just hop on and play random lobbies and whatever else. But gosh, yeah, not even a fraction of what it used to be. I don't know about you, Freddie. What do you play? What do you play these days, on average? You think?
Yeah, mostly here for the Friday night sessions, and I might hop on for maybe an hour or two for the odd offline session, but it's definitely not like the marathon sessions of yesteryear.
Oh gosh. Every night
Yeah,
for hours and hours. That's funny to hear you too, hi man, talking about how you'd stay up as late as you could and then like set an alarm and get up just so you could play with people from the west, from the states. That's just crazy.
I know. Just in case I missed out on like a glitch as well and things like that.
Oh man, I think we can all relate though to the just the commitment to play these games, for countless hours back then, for sure.
So we're gonna move on to some questions that we've gathered from users on Discord, and the first one happens to come from Crad. He wants to know, how did you find the Johnson Hall glitch?
I think we were just we would hit every corner of the map trying to do different things, and it was just anything that looks like a room, especially, was definitely a target, and that was no exception. And I don't remember when it specifically happened, but I just do remember being good at it. So that's yeah, just something we discovered like by trying everything. I'm pretty sure.
Nice. This one is from Prohad, and he says, "Were you in the crowd enough?" Let me read that again. Were you in the crowd enough of the modding scene to get tools like Blub's QB compiler or Reaper's tools when we kept them private and pretended they didn't exist? And what were your feelings on the modding scene being so secretive of what they had?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this being secretive that much, but I understand why, because it's probably because of me actually. Like I feel like a lot of people had access to a lot of the modding things around, probably because of my patience with people that don't know what they were doing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I didn't have the compiler. I had a lot of Reaper's tools early on, and then who else? I had someone else's. I had like Defeater,
Mm-hmm.
his a bunch of his tools, and he made like a Blender plugin that I had for a long time to extract certain thing. Like you could basically load up the Tony Hawk's games, Tony Hawk's 4 into it, and I actually reached out to him a long time ago and got him to make changes to the plugin for me at the time. And yeah, I did a bunch of stuff with that, and then yeah, kind of moved on. But I feel like I think I may have even checked in on the forums about that at one point. So I think everyone has those tools. I think, but if I'm wrong, someone can ping me and I can try and dig them out.
I ugh. We got a couple people in chat. Gone from the development team is in chat. He would probably know better about anybody, any of us. I don't know myself because I haven't ever gotten to modding. I don't know if you know Freddie, but
Not a clue.
yeah, those aren't anything. I mean, this stuff fascinates me, and I think it's unbelievable the stuff that can be done. But it's nothing anything that I've ever really dipped my toes in the water on. So
We have a question from Ghost. He asks, have you kept up with the Tony Hawk scene at all in the past 15 years? And if so, what do you think about all of the new glitches that players have continued to find over the years?
I sometimes check in on like modding and some of that stuff over the years. I haven't really seen many of the new glitches. I looked just earlier today at the goat. I'm saying it that way for Dode. So, um, but yeah, they had some stuff on there that I was surprised by. Some kind of I can't remember what they were calling it now, but like specific to Thug Pro kind of glitches. And they're still like, I'm just surprised that they're still going strong doing things, or that anyone's kind of still doing that kind of thing. So yeah, it's fun to see. I don't know if I care about doing glitches as much as I used to. I'd probably be more into like modding nowadays still, but I'm excited to see that people still do that kind of thing, and that there's new things out there, and people still enjoy the same kind of things that I did too when I was playing. It's fun to see.
yeah,
But yeah, it's been fun.
Sounds like the Defeater Blender plugin you mentioned. There's some interest in that in the chat. Tyler Zanya's talking about it, and Gon saying that potentially you had some stuff. Anything that was before Thug 2 was probably before his time. So any tools that you have ahead of that release might be of interest to some folks if you had it available. Is what we're reading in the chat there. So
Yeah, I mean, I can just put it somewhere, and it's probably stuff that's already seen. But if not, then it might be useful. We can see.
sure. Yeah, and when you say that people, like Bagoat still has stuff going on and whatever, it's certainly not to the level that it was, and I think that's probably important to underscore. I don't think you're seeing active because so much anymore. I mean, you don't typically see glitch lobbies or glitch rooms on Thug Pro. At least I don't think I have. It's largely people kind of coming back in for a nostalgia trip, revisit their fun days from they were young and whatever, and then there's lots and lots of improv. um, just people, as most people say, flying around the level using the techniques that were once upon a time known as glitches, and just finding the most insanely crazy stuff. And then lots of work around custom levels. I think you see a lot of that where people are playing custom levels, and then that kind of gives you the opportunity for what some would maybe even call true improv, because it's a level that nobody's played before or very few have played. Like Loraxian just released, he converted all of the levels from Tony Hawk's Proving Ground and brought them into Thug Pro, and they're amazingly well done. But not many people played Proving Ground, so to see people get on, and you'll see a lot of people playing those levels because they're so nobody played them, especially in this engine. So
Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm definitely into the custom levels. I after I heard that there are custom levels, I really want to check them out and see what there are, because it sounds like there's quite a lot there to be seen.
yeah, there's a ton. I can't remember what the last count is. That there's the primary repository for them is on thpsx.com. Pretty extensive vault of stuff there. There's other places that have content besides THPSX, but that's the main spot where people will put it to share. And yeah, there's a ton of stuff, and it's just like Creative Parks back in the day. Some of the stuff is really amazing and really quality. Some of it is just people playing with stuff is all I can really say. It's not like there's one level a custom level that I always talk about. Somebody was messing with a script, right? And so they just made a half pipe with this moving door. That's all it is. That's the whole custom level. And so like you drop in and you kind of go back and forth. So it's an interesting concept. But it's like, okay, they were probably playing with a script or something else. And the custom levels that involve scripting are even better. So if they're scripting, like on the Loraxia maps, or at least the last two, he figured out a way to get online pedestrians on those levels online, which is cool. And then like Skate Ace has made a custom level. He brought over Asteroid Belt from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 into Thug Pro, but he figured out a way to get the gravity to change even more than moon gravity, and scripted that in. And then he scripted in the slam function. So that's a toggleable option in that custom level. So there's a lot of cool stuff beyond just bringing in, the geometry and noting the rails and all of that kind of stuff. There's also a lot of fun stuff you can do with scripting. Like Tyler has put in goals for goal attack on his streets level. So anyway, I could go on and
Nice.
on. So there's a lot of fun stuff.
Well, have they been moving levels over from other games and stuff too, like non-Tony Hawk's games?
Oh, for
Do you know?
sure. Yeah, there's a lot
Really?
of them.
Oh,
Yeah, Matt
nice.
Hoffman's levels. I can't even think of them all. Zelda, Super Mario Sunshine. Some stuff that maybe doesn't play so well, but it's kind of interesting to see what it's like to play some of your, like the what is it, Mario Kart Racing. There's a couple of those that have been brought in that are crazy. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. I'll definitely check them out and see what's out there.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear your take because some of it's really quite interesting to check out and play. So this
Nice.
is from Toxic Riv, Freddy's clanmate. Have you kept the? Oh wait, that's a question you just read. My apologies. Let's go to the next one. This one is from Warpig. You might remember him. Warpig is a guy that's been around forever. He used to go by the name Eduardo back in like Tony Hawk 4 days. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
it sounds familiar. I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly, but yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah. He says, "Hey, Invisible Man. First of all, I want to thank you for the work and time that you put into the Glitch Vault website. I really enjoyed it and made my times as a kid more intrigued and excited with this game. It was like discovering a new onion layer. My question is this: you had probably had nothing to do with improv glitches or techs, as we like to call them, such as bunny hops, air shuffles, butt slaps, wall ride bounces, etc. But from your perspective, how would you describe these techniques?" These are very different than getting into buildings or setting custom restarts, but fundamentally, at least for me, I think they're not too far off from being glitches. It would seem like they just apply to a different genre of the whole Tony Hawk experience on a different branch, but same tree. Cheers.
Yeah, I think maybe it's like gameplay glitches. Like I feel like a lot of the glitches that I kind of dealt with are definitely, you know, you couldn't particularly like play the game skating around and do that glitch because it was very like a stationary thing. You're in one place and you're trying to get somewhere. Whereas those kind of tech that are technically glitches, I guess I'd very much see them as gameplay kind of glitches that they're like advantageous to be using, right? Because the rest of the glitches aren't really so useful when you're like skating around trying to do something. So I kind of see them as that, and they're a fun thing to have, and I'm pretty terrible at them, but I like that they exist and that they're a piece of the gameplay and people have embraced them as we were talking about earlier. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of how I see it.
Perfect. Do we have any questions from the Twitch chat? So far, we've got a lot of comments. Tyler says there's a forum tutorial done by Satin, who or Wheezy, we call him too, in the THPSX forum if you're interested in custom level making. And it's a great tutorial. A lot of good original levels by Satin. He's a so there's a couple of things with custom levels. There's levels that are brought over from other games, but with like screen ripping tools and things like that. And then there's actual true custom levels, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, where it's just completely original. Like all of the objects, everything else are created from scratch. And Satin is one of the few that he's not the only one, but he's one of the few that actually create brand new original content in custom level making. So
Nice. I definitely think that if I was gonna try doing any of that stuff, I'd probably try like porting some kind of other level over. I mean, I was never like a create a park person anyway, so I'm pretty sure if if I made a custom level, it'd be just as bad as a create a park by me. So I think I'll try. I think at some point I might try and do some kind of like porting of a level from another game. That might be fun to do.
let's see. We've got one from Andy. He says, "What's your favorite all-time level, and why is it East LA?"
Favorite all-time level. I don't know.
I think we
It's
already asked
just
that,
like
but it's okay.
yeah. It's just like so hard though. Seriously.
Yeah,
I feel like there's just so many different reasons for certain levels that just for different reasons they just stand out. You know, I always gravitate towards like Tony Hawk's 4 and 3 though a lot, and I guess that just comes back to like
yeah,
how much time I spent playing them. I think.
sure. You do know that Andy's saying that because he was one of the level designers on East LA, right? Okay.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But I was like trying to treat it like a real question too.
uh,
Got a question from Tyler. He wants to know who is your favorite Andy and why is it Andy THPS?
Let's see. It's got to be Andy THPS.
Oh my goodness, this is so baited. What's this chat today? All right, hey GC Raiden's on. What's up, Raiden? How are you? He says,
Hey man.
what system are you getting Tony Hawk's One Plus Two for?
Probably PC. I don't know. Um, yeah, I think it'd be PC.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
All right. Um, I think that's it then. That's all the chat that we're seeing there. So, with that, man, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun talking with you about all of this crazy stuff, all of the glitches, and kind of reliving some of the days. I'm surprised to find out myself that I'm the one that invited you into TXO. So thanks for reminding me of that.
I really don't know. It could have been. Like, I'm just guessing at this point.
That's hilarious. So yeah, we really appreciate your time, and we're gonna introduce our next guest. You're certainly welcome to stay on the chat. I know it's getting late there for you, so if you need to jump off, totally understand. But we're just gonna close up and talk about our introduce and talk about our next guest, and yeah. So thank you, and
Yeah.
Freddie, any closing remarks from you?
No, I mean, it was Dode has not failed yet to bring all these TXO legends to the podcast. So I'm very happy that we got a chance to sit down with Iman. Thank you for your time. I know it's late there, and hope to see you around the Thug Pro world maybe.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun. It's good to remember all this stuff, and yeah, it's been fun. Thanks.
Cool. All right. All right, thus concludes our time with Invisbleman, the invisiblest of men, as Andy says in the chat. So, our next guest, we are actually going to be taking a couple of weeks off here. We have Memorial Day, and just schedules weren't quite aligning, so we are not going to have another episode for a couple of weeks here. But on Sunday, June 7th, 8 o'clock Eastern, we are super excited to welcome to the podcast Tyler Lasagna. You want to talk about Tyler a little bit, Freddie?
Yeah, Tyler, he's super fun and a highly active member of the current Tony Hawk community. We have some highlights here about him. He's one of the most well-respected speedrunners. He held the world record for story mode normal on Tony Hawk's American Wasteland for several months. He's currently a moderator in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater X Discord, as well as Reddit slash Tony Hawk's THPS, the primary subreddit devoted to THPS. He has this highly successful YouTube channel with over 4,000 subscribers and over 920 videos, including his great Let's Play series specific to the THPS series. And he has one of the most comprehensive collections of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater physical memorabilia in the world, including games, swag, skateboard decks, and more. Tyler is a super fun guy, and we're really looking forward to having him on as our next guest.
It's going to be great. Tyler's great. Tyler's one of the few Tony Hawk's Pro Skater players that I've actually met in real life. We had the exciting honor and privilege to attend the 20th anniversary concert event for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in San Diego last year, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm sure we'll have some laughs about that, and just great time. Tyler's fantastic, but not only is he fantastic, his collection is mind-blowing what he has, and he also he plays the game really well, and just his contributions to so much of the stuff that I've been involved with are really quite impressive, and it's going to be great to sit down and chat with him and talk about everything Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun to hear more about that trip that you guys went on to last year.
yeah, nothing too crazy, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, we ollied the magic bum on bird scooters in the downtown streets of San Diego there. So it's a lot of fun. So, all right. Well, with that, thank you everybody for your time today. This has been a lot of fun with Invisbleman. Freddie, tell us a story.
Okay, regarding Iman,
All right.
I thought I always thought it was so cool back in the day that his cast his male Tony Hawk forecast had the female snowboarder pants, and I never knew how he did it.
Oh, was that not a thing? You couldn't intermix the female creative skater pieces with the male?
No, so it must have been modded or some kind of Game Shark code.
I always had the snow pants on Tony Hawk's 3, and yeah, I really wanted them on the other games that where you can choose it for the male character. So yeah, I did something. I don't remember whether it was a mod or something.
I love it. Thanks everybody for your time. We appreciate it. Talk to you soon.